Chapter 1. Prophecy. A prophecy is a message that is claimed by a prophet to have been communicated to them by a deity. Such messages typically involve inspiration, interpretation, or revelation of divine will concerning the prophet's social world and events to come. Noun. It was October 10th. This particular day birthed the infamous fable of the Kyubi no Yonko. The unfortunate night when Minato Namikaze the Yondaime Hokage had slayed the dauntless beast. At least that is how it's informed to the public. False information lectured to future generates of the hidden leaf. But in the end, that story can only be so true. Enter Konoha's resident nine-tailed Jinchuriki, Naruto Uzumaki, the pariah of the village who is to endure their unfathomable hate. One's will of fire can only burn so bright after all. This is his story. 000. Again, chased on my birthday once again. Don't let him escape. No surprise how nimble he is considering he's a demon. Bellowed one of the many villagers chasing the poor child. For Naruto, October 10th was his personal day of hell. Villagers and shinobi alike would play, hunt the demon brat. A sick game justified by anger, despair, and vengeance, common emotions bled by the majority of the least populace. My legs are getting tired, and I can't bear this headache any longer. Naruto was moving at speeds no average civilian man could possibly keep up with, but still very slow compared to Genin standards. Even with his tunnel vision, Naruto spotted a perfect escape. A fence too tall for a drunk civilian to quickly scale, which separated the upcoming alleyway. With newly attained hope, Naruto attempts to leap over the fence with ease. That vile creature is trying to jump the fence. A villager in the crowd, who had a knack for pointing out the obvious, had wailed. A burly villager, too plastered to even stand on his feet, had glanced at his sake bottle. An idea popped into thy head as an evil smile dawned his bland features. With hasty decision, making the man heaves the bottle. For Hyakimaru, with shocking precision, for a drunk civilian, the bottle smashed on the back of Naruto's head. Black and white dots plagued Naruto's vision. The bleeding wound had been too much for his concentration. Because of that, the poor child failed his escape attempt, crashing face first as it descended onto the fence. For that created another gash on his forehead by head-butting the wooden fence. Before losing his good vision, the last thing Naruto saw clearly were the beautiful stars scattered throughout the dark sky. The nights on my birthday are truly beautiful. Too bad I could never enjoy them. That thought was the last straw for the young Jinchuriki. Tears started to slowly secret from his ocean blue eyes. A memory was brought to life as he reflected upon this situation. TT2-san, I was running too fast, and I TT tripped, cried a civilian kid. He was playing tag on the playground, but he got carried away and fell. That caused him to now have a bloody knee. Come now, tears are a sign of weakness, child. Don't let some pity injury keep you down. A civilian dad told his child with enthusiasm. The hurt child quickly cheered up and smiled at his dad, agreeing to his words. Naruto saw the whole scene unfold while he sat on a bench in the background. Those words of encouragement strangely stuck with him, and from then on he vowed to not cry. But today he broke his vow. Naruto felt so weak that he couldn't even move to wipe the tears off. Everything sounded muffled, as if his head was submerged in water. All in all, the Jinchuriki spirit had been officially broken. Is that thing crying? How dare that demon imitate emotions? Does it real think we'll shed sympathy upon it? What about the hundreds of lives he took from us? Where's our justice? A disgusting speech from a female civilians had renewed life into the crowd, boosting their malice and morale all in one go. With savagery intent, they pounced upon their victim. Stomps were dealt to his limbs, punches to his temple. Some even tried to choke him. Wait! The beating was put to a pause as an older Chunin stalked through the bloodthirsty crowd. I need a souvenir for our success tonight. A disgusting smile came to life on the Chunin's face as he bent down in front of Naruto. He revealed a kunai from his sleeves as he strikes at Naruto's left eye. It was obvious he was no medic Nin as he brutally ripped out Naruto's eyeball. Screams of agony escaped his lips as he quickly lost consciousness. The nameless Chunin raised the optical organ in the sky, proud of his deed. A round of applause thundered through the alley as the civilians cheered on the Chunin. The applause, however, came to sudden silence. Raikiri. Not a second passed by, and the Chunin's heart was punctured by an electrifying hand. The last thing he saw was an Umbu Nin with great gravity, defying hair, staring into his soul with a fully mature Sharingan. He was wearing a dog-face mask with his dojutsu spinning furiously in his left eye. Fear filled the atmosphere as many civilians started to drop due to a Durant Jinjutsu being placed on the majority. Only two managed to run away before shuriken were embedded into their lone Umbu, looked into the sky as a rain dropped landed on his mask. Soon followed by another and another as it now had started to drizzle upon the streets of Konoha. Sensei, forgive us for how hard we have failed you. Approaching Naruto, he gently scooped the 6-year-old into his arms. Years of shinobi experience dulled his emotions as he started to shout out orders. Weasel, take this dead traitor to Ibiki. I'll debrief the Hokage of the situation. Another operative with a ponytail, wearing a weasel mask, appeared in front of the Chunin. Not a second later, he was gone with the corpse. Sensei, was your decision to make your son a Jinchuriki really worth it? The somber thought lingered only for a moment, but was quickly struck down. I can only hope that he won't grow to hate this village. With haste, Dog made his way towards the Hokage's office, carrying the wounded blonde. 000. Drips of water from a sewer pipeline had awoken Naruto. Looking around to study his new setting, the blonde had come to find out that he was now sitting inside a sewer filled with muddy brown water. The smell emitting from the water wasn't pleasant either, but what really distracted him was the huge fox, caged behind massive pillars that were supposed to be bars. Standing up, the child had steadily made his way over the beast, curious as to why it was here. What fox, where am I? Naruto asked in an uncharacteristically dead tone. He was tired, too tired to continue on with his usual mask. Gaki, do you know who I am? I am the great Kyuubi no. You seem different. Your usual mask of happiness is gone, huh? Have I finally broke you? You act like you know who I am. Have we met before? Impatience laced his words. A conversation with the Kyuubi was the last of his worries at the moment. Of course I know who you are, brat. As my jailer, you really are a horrible host. I have been sealed inside you before you could even use your eyes, boy. Jailer, are you telling me you're inside of me? Gripping his head, the blonde had fallen to his knees. Making a small splash in the murky water, it seems that hysteria had finally latched upon him. Well, if you want to put it like that, yes, I am inside of you. But to specific right now, we're in your mindscape. No, I'm not a demon. I can't be. The sewer water around him started to twist in a vortex, creating a mini typhoon with Naruto crouched down in the fetal position, crying in the eye of the vortex. Oi, Ninjin. They were all right. The fox could hear Naruto's voice crack as the typhoon started to gain more power, each wave getting more wild and violent as the child fell deeper into hysteria. Naruto, I truly am a monster, a demon. Akuma. This time the waves had enough power to sweep Kurama off of his feet. Growing tired of the blonde's tantrum, the fox had let out a mighty roar. The sound waves alone carried enough force to disperse the typhoon. Naruto snapped out of his hysteria as he covered his ears. Now listen here, kid. I will not have my host bested by some mortals who are out for blood. Rise, brat. The sight of weakness disgusts me. Naruto slowly stood up as he wiped away his tears. Gathering his nerves together, once again Naruto finally addressed the chakra beast. Why do you care anyways? Two of Kyuubi's tails smashed against the cage as the fox snarled at the child. Foolish mortal, we are one. If you die then, so do I. I can't afford having a weak host, so get it together. Naruto took a step back as he stared at his reflection in the water. His tears stopped flowing as it took him a minute to regain his bearings. After some time, the child took notice of his surroundings once again. "We're in a sewer. Didn't you say we were in my mind?" The QB settled back down to lay on all fours. "We are in your mind, Brad. Does it really surprise you that you're in a sewer? At least you aren't imprisoned in this foul sewage." QB replied lazily. Naruto approached the rusting metal and traced his fingers along the cold bars. "Well, it does make sense for you to be in jail then. Many lives were lost when you destroyed over half of the village, you know. You think I chose to wreak havoc upon your puny civilization out of my own volition, human? No, I was manipulated by none other than those cursed Uchihas and their bastard eyes." Giant furry tails slammed against the pillars as the kitsune vexed. "Wait, so you were framed for something you didn't do?" Naruto's sense of justice was clear-cut, and now he knew what he had to do. "How could I free you?" The QB raised an eyebrow, intrigued on what his host was going to do. "Simple, just tear the seal off my cage. But beware, your death will be imminent afterwards. When you succeed, you will most likely die," the QB suggested while using one of his tails to point to the paper seal. A wicked smirk was plastered on his face as he guided his warden. Naruto stood up with determination shining in his blue eyes and went over to the seal, resting his hand on the paper. "So what if I die? It's not like anyone wants me here. Also, you don't deserve a fate like this. Nobody does." After hearing those words, QB had a moment to ponder on this boy's action. Memories of his previous hosts invaded his mind. "Regrettably, I cannot let you run loose. Please stay quiet inside of me. I'm here to watch you." Yet this human would effortlessly throw his life away just for my justice. "What are your goals, Naruto?" Naruto removed his hand from a seal and adopted a thinking pose. "I want to become." Thinking over the situation he is in, the thought of becoming Hokage just didn't sit right with him anymore. How could he lead a village that treats him like dirt? For now, he'll put becoming Hokage to the side. "I want to become stronger. I never want to be tortured like that again. I don't want to feel that helpless ever again." With bold eyes, Naruto proclaimed his new goal to the QB with confidence. The QB smirked. "You can't achieve that when you're dead, huh? Instead of releasing me, how about I help you achieve that goal? I can make you become the most strongest shinobi ever." With that said, I think your time is up. Your body is fully healed, and healing your wounds could take a lot of energy, you know. Naruto started to fade out of his mindscape, but a new thought dawned upon him. "By the way, what's your name?" There was a pregnant pause between the kitsune and Jinchuriki. "My name is Kurama. Naruto. Keep our connection a secret, by the way. If the ninjas knew you were able to conversate with me, it could spell trouble." With a huge grin plastered on his face, Naruto faded out of his mindscape. "See you, Kurama." Naruto's enthusiastic voice echoed throughout his mind. The fox noticed his room started to get a little bit brighter. 000. Hokage's office. The famous Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Tsurutobi, sat at the infamous Kage desk that served Kages before and will serve many afterwards. He was filling out paperwork at a leisurely pace, but don't let his calm demeanor fool you. Hiruzen's mind was plagued with concerns about Naruto's safety. He gave Naruto an apartment hoping that he would hide and be out of harm's way. Yes, he knew about the evil intentions of the civilians and what they planned yearly on this fateful day. But he hoped that with each year passing by, their anger and vengeance would also subside. But oh, was he wrong. Not even a minute later, Dog appeared inside his office with a bloodied and heavily bruised Naruto. With 2 claps, his personal Umbu guards bring Naruto to the hospital. "Report," Hiruzen calmly asked. "1 Chunin dead, 2 civilian also dead, 31 civilians in a Genjutsu now under watch for the rest of the night. Naruto was found heavily bleeding with a missing left eye. Chances are high that he has fractures on all limbs." Dog replied in his monotone. Hiruzen took a long drag of his tobacco pipe, each second easing his anger. The Sandaime rose from his chair and faced his window. He analyzed his view over the famed village hidden in the leaves. "What would you think of this village now, sensei? Forgive me, Minato, for my failures. Hokage-sama, may you please listen to my request?" The gray-haired Umbu asked. Why, of course, Kakashi-kun, what is troubling you? The Hokage's grandfatherly tone eased most of his ninjas. The now revealed Kakashi removed his mask, revealing a 20-year-old Jounin with a Sharingan implant in his left eye socket, his lower face covered by another mask. There needs to be a change. Please let me move in with Naruto. The civilians came dangerously close to killing him tonight, and he needs to be under my care. The Sandaime thought about the request. While this would stop Naruto from despising this village by lending him another bond, it would also be showing blatant favoritism to not only Kakashi, but Naruto as well. Kakashi, Umbu operatives aren't really suited for paired dash. Kakashi fell to his knees in front of his Hokage. Hokage-sama, please. It hurts to see Sensei's son treated like a beast. I refuse to sit by and watch a 6-year-old get tortured anymore. Kakashi's emotions were spewing out like a running faucet. Hiruzen could tell he firmly believed in his ramblings. Honestly, he was quite surprised a prideful ninja, such as Kakashi, would show such devotion. Kakashi is an all-right candidate. You will become Naruto's legal guardian and will be kicked out of the Umbu program to resume Jounin level status with your fellow peers. I expect your Umbu gear on my desk by tomorrow, am I understood? Hi Hokage-sama, Kakashi replied. With a flick of the wrist, the Hokage dismissed Kakashi. I'll visit Naruto in the morning. One could only imagine what the boy is going through right now. 000. It was early in the morning on October 11th. Naruto awoke inside a hospital room once again. Thoughts of what had transpired last night replayed in his mind. He was very indecisive on his opinions. If he chose to enact revenge, the civilians would end up correct in calling him a monster. He would rather avoid that outcome, since he wouldn't want to disappoint Ji-chan. Speaking of which, the Sandaime entered the room with worried expression upon his face. Slowly, he sat down on an empty chair next to my hospital bed. Calm down, Naruto. Just act normal, don't let suspicions arise. Naruto-kun, is everything alright? The Sandaime knew Naruto was okay physically, but he had to make sure the boy wasn't leaning to vengeance. Ji-chan, I'm alright, these are just scratches. Pained laughter escaped Naruto's lips. Soon enough, Hiruzen joined him as they shared this somber moment. Ji-chan, sorry for putting you through so much worry. I'm going to become the strongest shinobi ever, so this can never happen again. At the end of his speech, Naruto pumped his fist to air. And that's a promise. That's a promise you must keep if you're ever to become Hokage one day. Of course, Ji-chan, that hat is going to be mine, without a doubt. Naruto still wasn't sure about the Hokage position, but he had to perfect his act so the Sandaime wouldn't get suspicious. The Hokage's hefty laughter filled the small room as he finally stood up from his chair. Well, Naruto-kun, I'm glad to see you're in healthy spirits. But the busy job of the Hokage never ends, so I'll have to make an early leave. The old Kage walked over to exit before he paused and looked at Naruto. Oh, and there might be a surprising waiting for you at home. Surprise. The Hokage silently closed the door as he left. A small breeze hit Naruto, causing him to look to the right. The window was opened as wide as it could be. A small frown formed as he gazed upon the window. They make it this easy to escape on purpose. I guess I should be grateful since hospital rooms are the worst. The mirror across from Naruto caught his attention. As he gazed upon his reflection, he noticed a nasty vertical scar located upon his left eye. I see you finally noticed. The sudden input of Kurama's deep voice startled Naruto once again. I was going to ask about this earlier, but since when could you talk to me outside of my mindscape? Naruto said out loud. It's called a mental link. All Jinchurikis could form them with their bijou. Whatever you think, I could hear. Jinchurikis? You mean that there are others like me? Also, why is there still a scar on my face? I thought you healed all of my wounds. This scar will not vanish until you fully figure out your path. Let this be a reminder of the world you are living in. Naruto stared at his reflection for a little longer until he finally had enough of this hospital room. He jumped out the window and ventured straight home. 000. Naruto arrived at his complex in the red light district. The red light district was located in one of the more shadier parts of Konoha, but that didn't bother the 6-year-old too much. He was grateful for having shelter over his head. But when he arrived at his door, he noticed that most of his traps were deactivated. His traps weren't the most advanced, but they weren't that basic either, in his opinion. The basic string line attached to stink bombs and such were enough to stop any non-dedicated civilians. Naruto casually walked into his apartment, expecting a wrapped gift, but what he did find was something far worse. Walking into his kitchen, the blonde child found a grown man dressed in shinobi attire. Half of his face was covered by a mask, but a feature that stood out the most was his gray hair that was somehow defying gravity. But what really brought horror upon poor Naruto was the fact that he was eating his precious ramen. Kid, forget about the food and focus on one of the new abilities you obtained from me. Sense his intentions and emotions. The 6-year-old started to focus on the emotions the man was emitting. Happiness, curiosity, a bit of anger, but he was mostly relieved. Naruto's scared. I started to twitch as he pointed at the man. How dare you break into my house and eat my ramen? Kakashi chose to respond with his signature eye smile. Unbothered by Naruto's words, he continued eating the noodles through his mask. The Jounin then stood up and bowed to greet himself. Oh hey, oh Naruto. From now on, starting today, the Hokage has granted me permission to become your legal guardian. So from here on out, we will be living together. Naruto quickly forgot about his ramen as he was now intrigued. Legal guardian? What's that? Q man of the world. Since I became your guardian, we are now considered family in everything but blood. Naruto eyes widened as his chest started to tighten. His bright smile started to bloom to life as the thought of having a family member would surely cause immense joy for the child. Before Naruto could even utter a word, a dark idea raced across his mind. Hold on, this isn't like a mission from the Hokage or anything, right? Uncertainty shone in Naruto's eyes as he asked the question he desperately didn't want to believe. Kakashi's eye smiled faded as he gazed upon Naruto. He's very perceptive. Good for a shinobi, concerning for a child. I'll need to squash any doubts if I want to form any bonds with Naruto. Kakashi squatted down to look Naruto evenly in his eyes. Mama, that's nonsense. I actually requested to look after you. Not a second wasted. Naruto rushed into Kakashi. The young Jinchuriki couldn't hold back his tears as they started to freely flow. Many sleepless nights had Naruto lie awake, desperately wishing for any sort of family member. Now that his wish came true, he couldn't hold back the rivers now streaming from his eyes. Kakashi lifted his Itaite to reveal the legendary Sharingan. Looking around the room, Kakashi would engrave this moment into his memory forever. Is it okay if I call you Kakashi and I? Kakashi's hold on Naruto slightly tightened. That simple action reassured Naruto greatly. Hi Otuto. From within Naruto's mind, Kurama looked upon the scene with a relieved expression. A smile would then slowly form upon the kitsune's face. For the first time in centuries, he truly felt glad for his host. I guess it's good to see the brat happy. Morning had finally arrived as the golden light from the sunrise covered Konoha. Today was going to be the first day of the academy for the young Jinchuriki. He was sure to oversleep, but fortunately his tenant had other plans. Oi kid, wake up. Your body needs nourishment, or as what you humans call it, breakfast. Kurama's deep voice had woken Naruto, much to his ire. Ugh, why do I have to get up so early in the morning? Naruto said sluggishly, wiping away the drool that caked his lower face. Naruto sat upward and looked at his clock, his eyes widening the time. Kurama, it's 5 o'clock. Who in this godforsaken village is even awake yet? The answer to his question had covertly shown itself as a mumbled shout of youth could be heard from outside. The blonde had blinked a couple of times, walking over to the perch of his window to look outside, only to find nobody on the streets of Konoha. Must be hearing things. The road to Hokuto won't be an easy road, kid. Ninjas and Kages must be alert at all times. Kurama said, snickering at a memory of Kushina watching Minato trying to finish all his paperwork before 6 o'clock. The aroma of searing pork had assaulted the child's nose. Walking into the kitchen, he had been greeted with a sight that warmed his heart. Kakashi whipped up breakfast consisting of bacon, eggs, and pancakes with syrup. This had been the first time ever experiencing the privilege of waking up to breakfast. Droplets of tears streamed down his face. Pure joy had been expressed through the strained smile that had reached ear to ear. "Good morning, Naruto. I see you're up. I was about to wake you up after I finished cooking, but there's no need. Ready for your first day at the academy." After placing an even balance of proteins and carbs onto a plate, he placed said plate on the lone kitchen table. Wiping away his tears, Naruto had sat down at the table and devoured his breakfast in under a minute. Yet a day is going to be a blast. Slow down. Your food isn't going anywhere. With a sigh, Kakashi had decided to join Naruto, sitting down with a plate of his own. "Make sure you brush your teeth before you leave, all right?" Kakashi ordered with yet again another smile. "You no problem." After finishing his meal, Naruto raced to the bathroom, leaving Kakashi to clean up his mess. His reflection in the mirror had caught his attention. Staring at his reflection, the young blonde traced the scar over his left eye. Kurama's explanation still fresh in his mind. "Kid, about those seals I mentioned earlier. Speak of the devil. You're teaching me a new jutsu?" "Not exactly. To even start sealing, you need ink and paper, which you lack. But I can explain it to you. The proper term for sealing is Fuinjutsu. Fuinjutsu had been the reason as to why your clan, the Uzumaki, had been feared by nations. Fuinjutsu is basically the art of ink. Its only limit is your imagination, determination, and creativity." "Naruto, lift up your shirt and look at your stomach." Naruto lifted up his shirt and saw the marking on his stomach. "Wait, so this was a seal the whole time? I thought this was a tattoo." "Amazing. So this jutsu can seal a whole biju? I also belong to a clan. They must be dead since I'm an orphan, huh?" "Yes, unfortunately, they were wiped out by enemy villages. But to answer your other question, yes, Fuinjutsu can seal biju and accomplish many other things. For example, the famous jutsu of the 4th Hokage is Fuinjutsu. But a tattoo on a baby would be a bit much, yeah?" Kurama asked as a sweat dropped rolled down on the back of his furry head. Naruto had given no response. The blonde had always lived life as an orphan, so discovering that he belonged to a dead clan hadn't surprised him that much. "After the academy today, you will gather the needed products." The objective had seemed easy enough. With a nod, Naruto had finished the task of brushing his teeth. Afterwards, he had bid Kakashi goodbye as he bolted out the door. 000. The walk towards the academy had been uneventful. It was the same routine whenever he walked upon the streets of Konoha. Glares from civilians and curses behind his back. Upon seeing the gates of the academy, Naruto awed at the sight. "Oh man, I'm about to begin my shinobi career, and when I'm done with here, I'll be a full-blown shinobi. After that, I will become successful enough to be Hokage." Before Naruto could enter, Kakashi had landed right beside him. "Oi, Naruto, you forgot your lunchbox," Kakashi said. Naruto took the lunchbox and looked at Kakashi. "Thank you, and ai-san," Naruto said while running up to Kakashi and hugging his leg. "Bye, Ni-san," Naruto said while running into the building. Kakashi waved at the retreating small silhouette as he shunshin away. 000. Upon entering the classroom, Naruto saw boys and girls his age talking to each other and laughing. Most of the kids had been segregated into their own cliques, so finding an empty seat had been quite difficult. Fortunately, there had been an empty seat in the back of the classroom. Naruto silently scaled the 2 steps until he gingerly plumped himself down in the middle column. "Brett, I have a plan for you." "Enlighten me, oh great Kyubi-sama." "Smartass. Before you, I was sealed inside 2 other humans, both of them belonging to the Uzumaki clan. The most recent one being your mother. You knew my mom. Why didn't you tell me before?" "Story time will be later. Just hear me out for a second. When I was sealed inside Kushina, I had the pleasure of watching her academy days also. I noticed that your shinobi system rewards certain graduates with title. That interests me the most is the one called Dead Lasta. You want me to become dead last? Why would I want a title like that? Naruto, you don't understand. We shall apply this title to our advantage. How will we use this to our advantage? You see, when Kushina had faced against a genin that was called dead last, she had instantly become lax. She had allowed herself to let mistakes show and barely bothered to take her opponent seriously. So what you're saying is if I become dead last, my future enemies should be way easier to defeat. A fox-like grin that promised no good had marred Kurama's face. Exactly. So you will fail everything on purpose or do the bare minimum to pass. Wait, but what if they don't let me become a shinobi? Kurama's plan had sounded foolproof, but what good would it be if he couldn't become a shinobi? Naruto, you're a Jinchuriki, for crying out loud. A weapon for the village. No way in hell would they decide to bar you from becoming a shinobi. Naruto had started to nod his head. Even if Kurama's reasoning was quite dark, it made total sense. Before he could even reply to his tenant, a fellow classmate had chosen to occupy the empty seat to his right. A raven duck-haired kid, who was ignoring his existence, had been examining the board. He must have been from a clan if the crest on the back of his black-sleeved shirt hadn't given it away. It seems that the seat on his left had also been taken by a blonde girl. I hadn't even noticed her sitting down. I need to be more aware when talking to Kurama. Not to self. Get better at multitasking. Naruto had decided to focus on his classmate to his right. The name's Naruto Uzumaki. What's yours? After finishing his greeting, he had shot out his hand, awaiting for a handshake. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. The raven, now named Sasuke, replied. Uchiha, huh? I've heard that name before. Naruto said curiously. Sasuke snorted. Yet my clan is the strongest one in Konoha. Sasuke boldly announced. Every clan heir had turned their attention to him. And why is that Uchiha? I don't remember reading or hearing about how the Uchiha clan is the best clan in Konoha, said the pineapple-haired kid who was now followed by the other clan heirs. Naruto had decided to intervene to prevent an argument. Hi, the name's Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto had said, distracting them. Catching the attention of the blonde girl, first she giddily responded first. Ino Yamanaka, said the blonde. Shikamunura, replied the pineapple-haired kid. Choji Akimichi, mumbled the last one. Naruto smiled. Let me guess you're all from a clan, right? Naruto asked. They all nodded in perfect synchronization. Well, I hope we all can be friends, Naruto said, this time with an even brighter smile. All right, class. Class is about to get started. You may all take your seats. A chunin who had recently stumbled in the room shouted. Okay, class, my name is Irika Yumino. You can call Irika Sensei, or just Sensei, either one is fine. I will be teaching all of you for your whole academy experience. Irika said, turning to his left, signaling another teacher to speak up. My name is Mizuki, and I will also be teaching you all for your whole academy experience as well. The white-haired man said. All right, class, now that we have introduced ourselves, we will begin roll call, Irika said with enthusiasm. Hinata Hyuga, blue-haired girl with a Heim haircut and pale lavender eyes, had raised her hand. Kiba Inuzuka, a feral-looking boy with brown hair, raised his hand with a smug grin. Kiba Inuzuka, at your service. Shino Aburame, a stoic brown-haired kid with black glasses and a large gray trench coat, raised his hand. Some time had progressed, and each kid's name had been called on except for Naruto's. All right, next is Naruto Uzumaki. At the mention of a young Jinchuriki's name, Irika's voice had slightly raised an octave. Naruto had noticed this, of course, but chose to ignore it. Instead, he decided to play the role of fool to AT, just like Kurama had instructed. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to be Hokage one day, believe it. The classroom had erupted in a fit of snickers. Yeah, right, no way, adobe, like you can even become Hokage. Naruto was about to reply with his own comeback, but Ino had beat him to it. Whatever, dogmutt, I bet you can't even become a shinobi. The whole class snickered at Ino's comment, except for one stoic Aburame. Whatever, you probably stole that comeback from somebody's mind, you freaky Yamanaka. Kiba retorted with a smug grin. An Inzuka without a Ninken? That really does show capable you are, huh? Ino's comeback had really got under Kiba's skin, and it showed. All right, class, settle down. Irika said, cutting the argument short. Today we will carry out a series of tests and exercises to see what we're working with. A benchmark, one would call it. Irika waited for the class reaction. They all were staring at him with confusion. Mizuki went around and started passing papers to each student. The papers being handed out right now is a test on various subjects upon shinobi history, math, and chakra theory. Doing your best on this test will be important for gauging your knowledge. The rest of the day had been filled with various exercises like endurance tests, bukijutsu, shuriken jutsu, and even taijutsu spars. Naruto had purposely come in last in each subject and failed miserably in taijutsu on purpose, just like Kurama had planned. Now Naruto had been sitting back at his deck. It was the end of the day, and class was about to end. He was currently reading a book on the history of the Land of Water. The chapter he researched gave a brief description about the Uzumaki clan and expanded upon its downfall. The book had dampened Naruto's mood, once again being reminded that he most likely has no family members left. Hey kid, this place has a lot of papers and ink. You should pillage some materials for sealing later. Zoning back to class, Irika was currently dismissing the class. Every student alike had rushed out of the classroom without a second thought, as if staying in class for a moment longer had meant death. Looking around, Naruto had spotted a stack of papers and a bottle of ink on Irika's desk. The only problem now was obtaining the supplies without causing trouble. Maybe you wouldn't mind if I made it seem like I was using them for homework. Approaching his instructor with valor, Naruto greeted Irika with a smile. Is there anything you need, Uzumaki? Irika's face had been indifferent, but Naruto knew better. One could almost hear the suspicion in his voice. Sorry to bother, but you wouldn't mind lending me some paper and ink? You see, I kinda had trouble writing notes today, because I lacked the papers to actually take them. Which wasn't a total lie, since he had come to class today in nothing but his clothes. Irika continued to stare at Naruto with indifference. To be truthful, it had started to unnerve the young Jinchuriki. You should inform me immediately of any problems similar in the future, all right? Irika had split the stack of papers in half, lending Naruto one. It was still a considerable amount of paper, since Naruto had needed 2 hands to carry them. Sensei, I need ink also. Irika chuckled as he placed the ink bottle on top of the papers. I need a brush also. I can just take one from a vendor on the way home. No need to ask for more, just to be safe. With a bright smile, Naruto had bid Irika goodbye as he walked out the classroom. Outside of the academy had been barren. It seemed that Naruto had taken long enough for everybody to go home. It had taken only 3 steps for Kakashi to land right next to him. Your first day must have been productive in Naruto. Amusement colored Kakashi's voice as his eyes pointed to the stack of papers. Reading between the lines, one could easily understand the unasked question. What's with the stack of papers? Naruto, don't lie. He's a ninja that works daily with deception. It will be too easy for him to catch your bluff. Oh, well, these papers are for sealing. I read in a history book today about how Uzumakis were legends in Fuinjutsu. The truth sprinkled in with an offhand memory. Perfect. I see. Carrying those would be a pain, so use this. Reaching into one of the many pockets on his jounin vest, Kakashi retrieved a scroll. This is a storage seal. Just unravel the scroll and place your supplies on the seal. Add chakra to seal the items and to release them. Naruto, your first milestone should be to deconstruct that seal and replicate it. Wait, that's impossible. I can't even understand this nonsense. Following Kakashi's instructions, Naruto had successfully sealed all of his materials. Naruto, this art style is immensely powerful once mastered. Power through and you won't regret. Naruto had chosen to once again not respond, but he was set on understanding this Furygan language known as sealing. Hey Naruto, let's go out for some ramen. You can't study on an empty stomach, you know. Naruto had looked at Kakashi with stars in his eyes. Sealing can take a back seat for now. Now is time for ramen. Yada, you bet Nissan. 000. Yugao Yuzuki, a noteworthy member of the Umbu force, had recently completed her regular surveillance of Naruto Uzumaki at the academy. Now, the Umbu agent was supposed to report back to her Kage, but an academy student had caught her attention. Now, normally an academy student wouldn't be all that interesting, but something was different with this peculiar girl. Said Kunoichi in training had been throwing kunai at practice logs nonstop for the past 3 hours. Cuts had littered her fingers, but the little girl had no intention of stopping any time. Witnessing such dedication in the future Kunoichi had been moving. Each kunai that left her hand would find itself shy from the bullseye of each target. With the show of her skills, Yugao had flirted with the idea of training the academy student. But would her time really be spent, well, babysitting a brat? Finally, one of the brunette's kunai had landed home. Maybe she should indulge her time into the child. After all, she was a hard worker. Deciding to follow her gut feelings, Yugao had finally let herself known, jumping down next to the 6-year-old, startling the child. "Hello, Umbu-san." The girl had stuttered with her greeting. "It seems your hard work bears fruit." Gazing at the gashes that littered the training log to hint at her success. "Tell me, child, what's your name?" "Tenten Higurashi, 2nd-year student." "Your dedication is quite honorable." Tenten had blushed from the moment of praise. "I'd like to know what goal is driving you, young one." "I want to be a kunoichi, just like Tsunade-sama, of course." Yes, Tsunade-sama had been a common role model for many young kunoichis, if not all. "In what way would you replicate Tsunade?" "I want to be a ninja in her class, powerful and influential." Stars had filled Tenten's eyes as she praised her idol. "I see you don't belong to a clan. Do you really think a civilian could reach S-rank caliber?" "Of course I can." The 4th Hokage had not belonged to an official clan either, yet he became one of the strongest ninja among Konoha history. "Your argument is plausible, but do you really have what it takes to survive the perilous road to S-rank?" Tenten hadn't even said a word. Instead, she gave a nod that was packed with conviction. "All right then, Tenten, I offer you the chance of becoming my kohai. I shall mend you into a fine kunoichi suitable for Konoha." Nico's piercing gaze froze Tenten in her place. "Oh, really? I accept your offer, but I don't even know your name." Chuckles escapes her cold Nico mask. "Once you're able to remove this mask off my face, only then will you deserve the right to know my name. Tomorrow afternoon after your class, I will find you and evaluate your skills. Make sure to be prepared." Without another word, the Umbu, Nin had disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Taking a few steps back, Tenten had looked around the clearing. Confusion had been written across her face as she had spent the next several minutes inspecting the clearing for a hidden Umbu Nin. Much to her disappointment, she had found nothing. Katan, Gyuki no Jutsu, skill technique, or Jutsu. Naruto, Bija talk. Naruto, Bija thoughts. Naruto, character thoughts. Naruto, regular speech. Circumstance, and a fact or condition connected with or relevant to an event or action. Ichiraku's ramen. Naruto sat down next to Kakashi with a big grin. The aroma of ramen broth in the air literally made the young Uzumaki drool. "Welcome back, Naruto-kun, the regular, I assume?" asked Ayam, daughter of Tucci and also #1 employee. "Ye already know," Naruto said while banging on the counter, causing Ayam to laugh. Before taking a pajuing and sighed, glacéing at Kakashi. "And make it double, please." The young girl then turned her attention to Kakashi. "And what would you like, Mr. Hitaki?" "1 bowl of miso ramen, please," Kakashi informed with an eye smile. Ayam wrote down their orders and went to calculate the price. Tucci, who was nearby, heard the whole order and was already working on it. "I spoke with the Hokage today." "Oh, and what did he say, big bro?" Naruto inquired as he started to dig into his noodle soup. "I was just issued with a standard delivery mission, one that I might or might not have pushed for you to come along with." Kakashi watched in amusement as his little brother gagged on his meal at his revelation. Flashback. Kakashi casually waltzed in the Hokage's office. He was recently summoned for an audience with the old Fire Shadow. So like always, he showed up 30 minutes late. Jounin Hatake reporting for duty, Hokage-sama. Kakashi calmly introduced as he while bowed to Hiruzen. Kakashi-kun, has it already been an hour? Hiruzen asked as he shuffled through papers. Tell me about Naruto. Is there any new behaviors he exhibits? So far, nothing out of the ordinary. Was kind of surprised that he accepted me immediately. But no doubt the boy does have wit and a keen mind. His first accusation was that my guardianship was a mission sent by you. Kakashi replied. Hiruzen eyebrow raised curiously at that piece of information. Good, the boy is smart. I don't expect any less from Minato-san. All right, well, let's get down to business, shall we? Hiruzen retrieved a scroll from his desk and threw it to Kakashi. Kakashi, I am sending you on an A-rank delivery mission. You will go to the Sand Village and try your utmost best to convince Raza that forming an alliance with us is in Sunagekyu's best benefit. Hiruzen threw the scroll to Kakashi, which he caught promptly. Permission to include Naruto in this mission? Kakashi asked as he placed the scroll into one of the many pockets his Jounin vest holds. Hiruzen narrowed his eyes at the request. You know the consequences if Naruto doesn't return, correct? Kakashi nodded his head. Immediate execution. Glad we're clear on that. Mission granted, Kakashi-kun. Now off you go. Hi Hoka-sama. End of flashback. So after we finish eating, we're going straight to the land of wind. Kakashi said that somehow not pulling down his mask to eat. Isn't Sunagakure like 2 days away from here? Naruto asked while finishing his bowl. Yeah, it's a pretty far distance away, but I may teach you a few things along the way. Kakashi threw out some bait, hoping that it would work. Cool, so what are we waiting for? Naruto yelled as he got up, jumping with excitement. Bait success. The copy Nin then paid for the rest of the meal. Come on, Naruto, let's start packing some things, yeah. Kakashi smoothly whisked Naruto off of his feet and onto his shoulders, walking towards the Jinchuriki's abode. Konoha Gate 1 hour later. Are you ready, Naruto? Kakashi asked as they walked out of the village. You know it. Naruto replied cheerfully. Kakashi and Naruto ran for most of the way, rarely taking breaks since neither of them tire easy. They managed to cross over 2 miles before Kurama at point spoke up. Problem child, asked that Cyclops of yours about the training he promised you earlier. Kurama's insult had thrown Naruto off so badly that his movement had faltered for a bit. Naruto, he quickly managed to eke over, though. He may not be tired, but he still felt the os and caught himself. Oh yeah, I almost forgot all about that. Thank you for reminding me, Kurama. Hey Nisan, you said that you were going to teach me a few things. Oh, well, I do remember promising something like that. Kakashi tapped his chin aloofly as he put away his infamous orange book. All right, Naruto, let us start with the basics, the tree walking technique. Kakashi walked towards the nearest tree and started to perform a demonstration. It's simple, all you need to do is apply some chakra to your feet and walk up the tree. Kakashi started to casually scale the tree. Now you try, Naruto. Remember to keep your chakra low and steady, alright? Hi, Nai-san. Naruto approached a nearby tree and slowly started to walk on it. Naruto managed to complete 8 steps before falling off the tree face first. Kakashi's eyes widened as he walked over to Naruto and picked him up. Naruto, are you alright? Kakashi asked as he slightly shook Naruto. Naruto opened his eyes and replied. Hi, Kakashi. Naruto stopped his response and noticed something different about Kakashi. Kakashi had a blue hue surrounding him, and he noticed a lot of other very small dots around him. The academy student instantly demanded his fox for an explanation. Kurama, what's happening? And what a coincidence. When you fell down, a dormant ability seemed to resurface. Right now, what you're experiencing is chakra sensory. That means you can now sense chakra in other living things, and you can also tell how much chakra that living thing has. This technique will also be helpful for detecting jinjutsus. That's cool and all, but how do I turn it off? Chakra sensory is more of a passive second nature type of thing. For example, like how you breathe through your nose. Just try unfocusing on the chakra around you. If that doesn't work, then try only focusing on that Nin-Jin in front of you. Also, one last thing. There's a seal on you that was placed by your mother right before I was sealed into you. And you just now telling me this? The seal is literally placed upon your back. I just found it amusing how little you observe yourself. Must be all that self-hate. You should really work on that. Naruto suppressed his rebuttal and focused on the seal instead. Do you know how to unlock it, Kurama? Just apply some chakra to your trapezius muscle, and like any other seal, I suggest that you explore that later. Scarecrow out there needs your attention. Naruto snapped out of his trance and focused back on Kakashi. The other smaller chakra beakers began to diminish once the blonde gave little importance to them. Smiling, Naruto stood up and told Kakashi that he was okay. The Jounin also stood up and gave Naruto a nice smile. Naruto, are you okay enough to continue the exercise? Kakashi asked in a concerned voice. He certainly didn't want to overtrain the 6-year-old, but he did want to know his limits. I'm all right, Kakashi, let's continue. The enthusiastic Jinchuriki spouted out, ready for more training. 000. The duo trained for a total of 6 hours straight. With many kunai gashes littered on the poor tree, Naruto managed to complete the tree-walking exercise. Kakashi was surprised since he thought the task would at least keep Naruto stumped for a week. But lo and behold, Naruto reminded Kakashi once again that he was full of surprises. After exiting the forest greenery and traveling through the harsh desert, the duo now found themselves at the front gates of Sunagakure, which weren't gates at all, but more like a wide canyon conveniently placed in front of the village. I, Kakashi Hitaki, a rank Jounin from Konohagakure, am here on a diplomatic C-rank mission directly assigned from my Hokage. Kakashi addressed himself in his most business-like tone. Naruto, who was holding onto Kakashi's hand, barely paid attention as he was purely fascinated by the sheer size of the canyon, contemplating if the canyon was man-made by chakra or just a natural phenomenon. All right, so where's your squad? And who's the brat with you? One of the guards antagonized suspiciously. Actually, it is just me, an apprentice on this mission. I assure you he will cause no trouble as he is well behaved. Kakashi replied in a chirpy tone, getting on the nerves of the Suna ninja slightly. Both of the guards shared a look between each other before they begrudgingly let Kakashi and Naruto into their sandy civilization. Kakashi decided to not waste any time and went straight to the Kazekage Tower. He decided not let Naruto explore since they were in enemy territory. Requesting for an audience with the villager leader, he was met with an immediate answer. On the way up to the Kazekage's office, Naruto saw a kid with red hair holding a teddy bear sitting in a lobby by himself. He was carrying the same face that he himself did for so many years. The expression of loneliness. Kit, that's the Ichibi's container. Let's bother him. It has been ages since I've tormented that bastard raccoon. Kurama suggested, curious to see how Shikaku was doing after all these years. Hey Kakashi and I, can I hang out in the lobby while you talk to the Kazekage? Naruto asked. Kakashi decided to let him stay in the lobby, since the meeting would be boring for the 6-year-old. All right, but under no circumstances. Do not leave this building. Kakashi had made sure to put emphasis on the do and not. Naruto nodded his head seriously, then instantly made his way over to his fellow Jinchuriki. Hi, the name's Naruto. Naruto eagerly shot his hand out in front of him. He was anticipating for the Ichibi's Jinchuriki friendly response. Gaara sat there in shock and disbelief. Ever since he could walk, civilians and shinobi alike would ostracize him. For this was the first time ever that a person initiated a conversation him with such confidence and good intentions. Without hesitation, Gaara decided to greet his potentially new friend. My name is Gaara. Nice to meet you, Naruto-san. Gaara stood up from his seat and shook Naruto's hand. In an instant, both Naruto and Gaara found themselves in a dimly lit room. Kurama, what is the meaning of this? Tremors caused by the deep voice of his tenant had swept Gaara off of his feet. The sight of a massive sand tanuki installed fear in the young child instantly. Gaara inched a few steps backwards, stopping his movement after realizing that his friend was unfazed by this giant beast. It's been centuries since I've seen you, baby brother, and yet you're still the same as ever. Now, with the new addition of the fox, Gaara started to quiver. He never saw Bijou before, much less two, so it was natural that he was on edge. When Naruto and Gaara's hand connected earlier, Kurama decided to create a mental link between the two, bringing them both into the tailed beast psyche plane. Even though Kurama borderline hated Shikaku's personality, the fox still wanted to tease his little brother. Fortunately, his little brother's brash attitude never changed, making it that much easier to get on his nerves. Meanwhile, Shikaku's focus were on the two humans between them. A disdainful look formed on the Tanuki's face at the mere sight of him. The only human Shikaku would ever tolerate with a sage of 6 paths in his last container, not these riff-raff that dare share his presence. I see you gone soft on me. You actually befriended your human. PFTT, ah, you make me laugh, furball. As if I could ever respect these flesh bags. Look, mine can't even stop trembling. Shikaku ended his ridicules off by pointing a finger at Gaara. It's natural for humans to fear what they don't understand. You should give your host a chance, Shikaku. Life with a trusted host could possibly be, might I dare say, fun? Kurama tried to reason with the Tanuki, but the Ichibi wasn't having any of it. Whatever Jinjutsu that container of yours put you under is corrupting your mind, Kurama. I'll end this right now. Shikaku's massive tail shot out to impale both Naruto and Gaara with extreme speed. On instinct, golden chains sprouted out of Naruto's back. Said chains halted and restricted Shikaku's tail with ease. Gaara had no words as he stared at the majestically golden chain levitating behind Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened as he inspected his chakra construct. These are the Uzumaki sealing chains that Kurama was talking about. So cool. Focusing back on task, Naruto slowly released the Ichibi's tail as he retracted his chains. All the hate we had to endure, the loneliness we had to experience, all because we have Bijou sealed inside of us. Do you really think we can't understand the unfairness you've been put through? You should give Gaara a chance, Shikaku. Everybody needs a friend. The blonde finished his speech with a glowing smile. Meanwhile, Gaara had been vastly confused as he had no idea what was going. Shikaku contemplated as he observed the two humans in front of him. A memory of his first host, Bunpuku, had seemed to resurface. You know, Shikaku, there will be someone to save you, and they will guide you in the future. Shikaku then shifted his gaze to Gaara. After some time passed by, the Sand Tanuki had turned his back towards everybody. Naruto wasn't sure on what the Bijou was thinking, but he was certain that the seeds of acceptance were planted in the Tanuki's heart. What a reunion. This meeting is over. I refuse to waste any more of my time in this conversation. With a wave of his tail and a grunt filled with disgust, the Tanuki had managed to successfully end the link. Naruto and Gaara found themselves back in the lobby. An exasperated expression overtook Gaara's face as he looked around. Naruto, what just happened? A soft chuckle escaped Naruto's lips as he smiled at Gaara. You've never met your Bijou before? Oh man, I have a lot to explain. We should get out of this lobby first. Naruto took Gaara's hand as he led him out of the building. Gaara smiled as he took the lead. I know a park nearby. Follow me. And with that, Naruto and Gaara raced through the village, laughing along through the streets of Suna. For some reason, Naruto felt like he was forgetting something, but quickly gave it no mind. 000. Kakashi was on edge as he stood in front of the Kazekage. Being in the presence of any Kage was no joke. While the village leader was an imposing figure, that wasn't the only thing that troubled the seasoned Jounin. Any wrong response that he makes could compromise this mission. State the reason as to why the Leaf would send one of their own shinobi into my village. The Kage spoke in an authoritative tone. Kakashi took a knee as he laid the scroll on the Kage's desk. Raza read the scroll with a blank expression, a master of his emotions. This alliance would be the most beneficial for Suna. But I must talk this over with my council. Konoha will receive an answer but not immediately. You're welcome to rest in one of our hotels, but I expect you to be gone by night. Am I understood? Hi. Thank you, Kazuke-sama. After Kakashi left his office, Raza had summoned his brother-in-law, Yashimaru, and a freshly promoted Chunin who was ready to serve his village. Yashimaru, are you ready to execute the mission we rehearsed? Rasa. Gaara-sama is but a mere child. It does not matter. We will still put him through the test tonight. You will speak of his mother in order to stress him mentally. If he can't handle the stress brought upon him, then he is not suited for the role of Jinchuriki. The Kazekage then turned his attention upon the Chunin. You will stay hidden and obverse the mission. Report the results. And if the mission is a failure, I want his body back. Am I clear? Hi, God, Sama. With that, the two shinobi began to carry out their orders. Yashimaru, you might not understand now, but soon you will. Sacrifices like these are pinnacle for Suna's advancement. Raza thought as he once again read over the leaf scroll. Kakashi had been pleased with the outcome of the meeting. But alas, his jolly mood had quickly turned into annoyance as he found the lobby missing a certain blonde. Of course, the sun would choose to set now of all times. Kakashi had left the Kage building to search for the young Jinchuriki, hoping that he hadn't caused any mischief in a foreign village already. 000. Gaara's older sister, Temari, had spotted the duo chatting with each other. She had never seen the new kid before as he casually laughed with her younger brother. She didn't want to interrupt their moment, so she decided to spy on them. After all, human interaction was a rare occurrence for her younger sibling. She stayed close to the civilians so she could blend into her background easily. Training to become a shinobi at such a young age helped her accomplish this with ease. Said civilians were a loss of words at the scene in front of them. Many wanted to save Naruto, but they were glued to the sidelines watching because they feared Gaara even more. Fortunately, the sun had decided to set. The crowd dispersed. Civilians here treat their village curfew very seriously. Temari decided to follow their example as her father was pretty strict about her whereabouts at all times. How can you live in this heat, Gaara? Naruto complained as he slumped on the bench they were sitting upon. Gaara started to focus on the sand surrounding them as he summoned a wall of sand to give Naruto shade. Naruto's eyes had transformed into stars as he gazed upon the Gaara abilities. That's so cool. How do you do that? Gaara smiled at his praise. Before he could respond, Kakashi had dropped down next to the two. Mama, I see you've made a friend, Naruto. Kakashi crouched down as he started to painfully pinch Naruto's cheek. I also see that you took my warning very seriously. Ack. Sorry, Kakashi and I just forgot in the moment. Naruto rubbed his cheek to soothe the pain as he apologized. Hope you had your fun because we have to leave immediately. The Kazekage wanted us gone by the time the moon rised. Naruto hadn't kept track of the time, and he finally noticed the night sky. A frown had came to life upon Gaara's face as he heard the news. Naruto smiled to reassure him. Don't worry, our villages may become allies, so this won't be the last time you'll see of me. Promise. Promise. Having said his goodbye, Naruto and Kakashi had made their way to the main gate of Sunagakure. It would take a while at the pace they were going since they were in the heart of the village. Gaara had stood there for a moment before finally deciding to go home. 000. Gaara had been sitting on top of his roof. He enjoyed the view from his home. He could see the beautiful lights that came from each establishment. Altogether, the lights had illuminated the village, a golden yellow mixing with the bleak night of the desert. It was truly a beautiful sight to behold. Too bad it was cut short, as several kunai had ambushed Gaara. His sand had successfully absorbed the kunai as he looked upon his attacker. An Umbu officer with kunai floating around him. This had been the 6th attempt at his life, and Gaara had enough. He commanded his sand to wrap around the ninja, snaring him into his sand. With his final command, Gaara smashed the body into the wall. It left blood everywhere as the body slid to the ground. Who is this? Why? Gaara removed the cloth covering the nin's face, revealing his assailant to be his uncle Yashimaru. Well done, Gaara-sama. Gaara had let out a pained cry that could be heard throughout the entire village. 000. Kurama, do you think Shikako has accepted Gaara yet? With a mindset like his, it would take time, but he definitely has started to walk on the path of acceptance. Their conversation was cut short as he heard Gaara's piercing scream echo throughout the village. Gaara. Without thinking, he dashed towards the large chakra signature that belonged to the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Kakashi, following behind him, decided to create 2 Kage Bunshin and hinged one of his clones to look like Naruto. He had sent the pair to leave the village, while he grabbed Naruto and Shunshin to the scene. I really hope I'm making the right decision, Kakashi thought as he raced across the village. Gaara's rooftop. Gaara, nobody will ever love why dashed. Don't listen to him, Gaara. You have people that care about you. Naruto had landed on the roof, interrupting the dying nin's last words since he couldn't bear to let Yashimaru finish. Naruto had walked up to his fellow Jinchuriki, extending his hand. Come with us back to the leaf. This village will make you insane. Yashimaru looked upon the last scene his eyes would ever see. It had taken a great amount of willpower to not break character. Yashimaru couldn't help but let a tear of joy as he gazed upon the scene in front of him. Good Gaara has made friends. He'll surely grow into an amazing person. Karura, looks like we have nothing to fear. Not uttering any words, Yashimaru had decided to end this mission. Opening his tan flak jacket, he revealed dozens of explosion notes stuck on his body. Naruto had never took his eyes off the fallen ninja. A rule Kakashi has drilled into his head on the way to Suna. Never take your attention off a ninja unless you are sure he is dead. Instinctively, the Uzumaki pushed Gaara behind him. Clapping his hands together, 4 golden chains had sprouted from his back and formed a small barrier around the two. Adamantine sealing chains. The explosion that followed had not affected neither of them. The barrier had been impressively durable. Unfortunately, the barrier had been seen through, not sparing Gaara from seeing the mangled and charred corpse of his uncle. Not a second later, Kakashi had joined the pair. While Kakashi was sympathetic for Gaara, he still had to get out of the village. He wanted to avoid war as best as possible. We need to leave. Now, there is no time to waste. Gaara, do you know any other exits besides the main gate? Kakashi did not want to disregard the young Jinchuriki's feelings, but escape was mandatory. Gaara was still in shock and basically unresponsive. A well-placed hand upon his shoulder from Naruto brought him to his senses. Yeah, I can use my sand to create a tunnel underneath the walls. I've done it before. Follow me. The squad then quickly fled Suna. Nearby rooftop. The Chunin that was sent to observe Yashimaru hadn't seen what actually transpired. Instead, he fell victim to AB rank Genjutsu courtesy to Kakashi's Sharingan. The illusion had done its job, successfully fooling the Chunin into seeing that Gaara has been killed. Without a second thought, the fresh Chunin had set out to report the mission. That night, the poor Chunin was executed for treason. There was no body to recover. 000. It had been exactly 1 day since the trio had left Sunagakure. Light from the rising sun had painted the forest a beautiful orange tint. Having been crossed the border of land of wind, the trio were moving through the Konoha forest with ease. Do you regret your decision, Gaara? Kakashi had tried to reassure the Jinchuriki, unsure if he actually needed it since the child was sporting an extremely well poker face. Gaara had faithfully believed he had made the right choice, but the guilt of leaving behind his family without a second thought had been nagging him. It was for the best, Gaara melancholy responded. Gaara, you're gonna love Konoha. I'm sure you'll fit right in. Naruto's cheerful manner was infectious as a smile managed to wiggle its way on Gaara's face. Yes, this choice was truly for the best. Hokage's office. The trio had arrived at their destination and were currently giving their report on the mission. To say that Hiruzen was unhappy would be an understatement. So not only did you return with an extra Jinchuriki, you've managed to kidnap the Kazekage's youngest son? Hiruzen didn't wait for Kakashi to respond. The Cyclops knew a rhetorical question when he heard one. Not wasting any time, the stressed-out old man took out his pipe and started smoking his tobacco with a flame conjured by his fingers. If Raza find out this, will definitely ruin our peace treaty and tarnish our alliance. This could possibly lead to war, so I leave it to Naruto to bring a ticking time bomb to my doorstep. Now, even if I were to accept you into my village, how could we keep your heritage and status a secret? Hiruzen questioned Gaara in his usual grandfatherly tone. Human, tell that leader of yours that I have the abilities to change your hair appearance. It could help with creating a whole new identity. Shikaku's deep rumbling voice reverted in Gaara's mind. Keep his face completely indifferent. Gaara's mind raced a mile a second, trying to figure out how to communicate with his bijou. Hi, you idiot, I can hear your thoughts. Oh, well, thank you, Shikaku-san. Now that Gaara's focus was on his tenant, the boy could actually feel the sand demon's sass roll off of him. Hokage-sama, Shikaku had told me he could help change my appearance. Gaara's timid voice had adorable caught the third Hokage off guard. Shikaku, they have names. Before the god of shinobi could question Gaara on his claim any further, Kakashi decided to step in the conversation. Hokage-sama, let Gaara take my clan's name. Allow me to be his parental guardian. Kakashi smoothly retrieved a face mask from the back of his pocket to stay completely hidden. With negotiations and persuasions out of the way, it was now finally time for make it or break it answer from the professor. Gaara-kun, you can be a civilian of Konoha, but because of your situation, you must be a shinobi under my rule. Are you ready to embody the will of fire and protect this village? Gaara had looked over Naruto. He was met with a giant smile and thumbs up. With the encouragement of his now best friend, he had taken a knee. Hi, Hokage-sama. Silently, Gaara had put on the mask. A warm, grandfatherly smile had graced Hiruzen's face. Welcome to Konoha, Gaara Hatake, but before you leave, I need a quick debrief on any abilities and skills that you have. I can manipulate sand. I'm not very good at controlling it, though. And my sand also instinctively lashes out to protect me when I'm in danger. It's unclear as to why my sand behaves like this, but my father suggested that it's Shikaku protecting me. Hearing this had piqued Naruto's interest. Ever since the first time he'd seen Gaara's sand protecting him, he had noticed that the chakra's signature controlling the defensive sand didn't fully belong to him, nor Shikaku. I thought he already knew. I guess I should tell him. Gaara, the chakra controlling your reflexive sand isn't that of a bijou's. It feels very similar to your signature, actually. Gaara had looked at Naruto with wide eyes. With this new information dawned upon him, Gaara had remembered what his deceased uncle had told him that day. I believe that my older sister loved you, Gaara. Ever noticed how your sand automatically protects you? I'm sure that's Karura's soul keeping you from harm. The love of the mother transcends even death, after all. Teardrops stained the floor as his flashback had brought too many emotions. In the end, the sand had formed into a sculpture of his mother, Karura. Yashimura wasn't lying. Ka-san did love me. Gaara's quiet mumbles had been heard by everyone in the room. Naruto, the empathic child he truly was, had placed a comforting hand upon Gaara's cold shoulder. Impressed by the sculpture but saddened because of the child's tears, Hiruzen had decided that this debriefing had come to an end. After dismissing the trio, Hiruzen had laid back and thought over the previous events. Naruto is a censor? He also knows about Bija Chakra. What else does he know? Chapter 7. It had been 3 months since Gaara's introduction to the leaf. Over those 3 months, a lot has occurred. Just like Shikaku promised, Gaara's hair was now a silver gray, just like Kakshi's. He even gave the kid eyebrows. Naruto's hair was also changing in color also. His yellow roots had slowly been changing to red. Kurama claims that he's been forcing his Uzumaki genes to take over. The young Jinchuruki was currently enjoying a cup of ramen after training with Kakashi and Gaara. For the past 3 months, Kakashi has been driving Naruto and Gaara in the dirt with taijutsu and evasion training. The only jutsu Kakashi had taught him was Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Now some might call Kakashi crazy for teaching an academy student Kenjutsu. But due to Naruto's circumstances, the drawback for that jutsu had become obsolete. The sun had started to set, causing the sky to turn a nice red hue. I'm too full and sore. I better get home and sleep. Who knows how brutal tomorrow training will be. By Old Man Tucci by I Am. Narrate paid for his meal and left. The ramen family had bid their number one customer farewell as he raced down the street. The streets of Konoha had seemed off today. Immediately, Naruto had noticed the problem. Many chakra signatures were disappearing at an alarmingly fast rate, which was happening in the direction of the Uchiha clan district, one of the founding members of Konoha. Kurama, should I go check that out? A curious ninja is a usually dead one in my opinion. Plus, why worry their Uchihas? A good thing is probably happening right now. Note to self, do not listen to racist Fox opinions. Naruto had noticed Sasuke walking in that exact direction in the distance. He decided to follow him in the shadows. When the pair arrived at the clan compound, a horrifying scene had greeted them. Corpses had littered the streets. Clan buildings were vandalized with splattered blood. It was as if this moment came straight from a horror movie. Sasuke had gotten hysterical and rushed deeper into the compound. Naruto was overwhelmed by the smell of blood and the sight of so many dead bodies. He stayed still in the shadows, contemplating if this was a nightmare or reality. This is the shinobi world I desperately want to be a part of. Why, Naruto, you better snap out of it. I suggest that you follow your friend if you want him alive. Right. Sasuke had bolted straight into his home only to be greeted with his older brother standing over his dead parents. Blood was covered all over his body, his scarlet Mangekyo flashing in the darkness. Naruto had been right behind Sasuke, using the reflection off his kunai as a mirror to peer inside in the room. One Uchiha managed to kill his entire clan? Why is there no Anbu here yet? Naruto made a shadow clone and sent it to the Hokage. He had to notify his surrogate grandfather of this situation. Ni-san, did you do this? Why did you kill Ka-san and Tu-san? Sasuke desperately pleaded for an answer. Itachi had spared no words as he walked out the building. Sasuke followed in hot pursuit, determined for answers. Reaching into his pouch, Sasuke had grabbed a couple of shurikens and threw them at Itachi's head. The seasoned Anbu captain turned around and flawlessly deflected them right back at Sasuke with his tanto. Those are way too fast for him to dodge. Deciding now would be a good time to step in. Naruto jumped in front of Sasuke, blocking the incoming barrage of shuriken with his own kunai. And Naruto, why are you here? The young Uchiha stuttered, having immense trouble with processing the current situation. As if I would let my friend D-dash. A memory of a shadow clone being stabbed by a man in an orange mask had caused Naruto to pause mid-sentence. Crap, Itachi was not the only one. Wait, why couldn't I sense that man's chakra signature? Naruto, that man. He was there on your birthday. It was him who unsealed me. Utter rage instantly filled the young Jinchuriki as he struggled to move for a moment. Unfortunately for him, in a ninja battle, all it took was 1 second to make a difference. It seems Naruto had followed Sasuke in here. No matter, this shouldn't affect the plan. Itachi had moved in on the academy students, planning to incapacitate Naruto so he could lecture Sasuke. Sasuke watched as Itachi moved closer to his classmate. No, I will not let him kill anyone else. Emotions were soaring out of the young Uchiha as he activated his Sharingan. 3 Tomio in his left eye and 1 in his right. Moving into action, he used a jutsu he had been practicing for weeks. Gaton, Gokakyu no Jutsu. Sasuke spewed out an average-sized fireball towards Itachi. The speed of the jutsu was rather slow, so the older Uchiha dodged with ease. Naruto, calm down. Take a look at your settings. This is not the time to make silly mistakes because of your anger. The blonde had taken a calming breath as he backed away from the fireball. He noticed Sasuke had awakened his Sharingan. Naruto then used Kurama's ability upon Itachi and noticed something strange. The emotions that Itachi was emitting were tremendous sadness, regret, and hope. These aren't emotions of a cold-blooded killer. What's going on? But before Naruto could even get an answer, Itachi had rushed him, caving in his torso with one kick. Naruto's head cocked straight up from a recoil of the kick, causing his line of sight to perfectly align with Itachi's Mangekyo. Tsukuyami. Naruto's body had gone limp, falling to the floor instantly with a dull thud. Seeing his fellow classmate fall so easily had startled Sasuke. His premature Sharingan had followed the scene perfectly, but his body couldn't react in time. Itachi had turned his sights onto Sasuke. Now that there's no more distractions, little brother, heed what I'm about to say. Itachi's Mangekyo had started to spin slowly, picking up in speed. The Exumbu officer had slowly started to walk forward. You can't be my brother. Sasuke slowly backed away from Itachi. The brother you knew is done with. I only kept up that charade to see if you had hidden potential. Did you know you can awaken the same Mangekyo Sharingan as me? However, there is a requirement. You must kill your closest friend. Sasuke had looked upon Itachi with horror. Nisan, you didn't kill Shirshue, did you? Thanks to him, I was able to obtain these eyes. At the main temple of the Nakano Shrine, on the far right side, underneath the 7th tatama mat, is the clan's secret meeting place. There you will find what purpose the dojutsu of our clan originally served. The real secret is written there. Itachi had finally stopped walking as he stood in front of Sasuke. If you want to kill me, curse me, hate me, and then one day, when you have the same eyes as me, find me. Tsukuyami. The last scene Sasuke has seen was Itachi crying as he fled the compound. The young Uchiha then blacked out into the Jinjutsu world, only to be tortured by memories of Itachi massacring his clan. 000. The smell of bleach and the color white is what Naruto had awoken to. There he was laying in a hospital bed. Right next to him was his fellow survivor, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto chose to stay silent until his roommate woke up. The events of what had transpired last night had kept replaying in Naruto's head. So many things did not make sense. Why was Itachi sad? Why did he kill every clan member except Sasuke? Who was the man behind the mask? And why was he helping Itachi? Or was Itachi helping him? So many questions had started giving the young Jinchuriki headaches. Nonetheless, Naruto was determined to come to a conclusion by the end of the night. Sasuke's eyes snapped open. For a moment, the young Uchiha has been just staring at the ceiling. At first, he was thinking that last night was nothing but a dream. But when his eyes laid upon Naruto, reality had quickly come crashing down upon him. Tears had started to slowly fall from his tear ducts. Naruto had decided to not say anything. After all, last night was quite traumatizing. Hiruzen had finally made himself known as he walked inside the hospital room. I'm glad to see the both of you awake. Neither academy students had given him a response. Sasuke, as of today, you are officially the last Uchiha loyal to Konoha. Itachi Uchiha had single-handedly killed every Uchiha clan member last night. Naruto, you wouldn't mind explaining as to why you were found with Sasuke-kun? It had pained Hiruzen to deliver such gruesome news like it was a fleeting compliment. But the job of Kage always came first. Right after I was finished with my ramen, I started to sense a lot of chakra signatures disappearing. Then I saw Sasuke running towards that direction, and I didn't want him to get hurt, so I followed him. Hiruzen nodded and stood up from his chair. He ruffled Naruto's hair with a smile and patted Sasuke's shoulder with a pitying frown. Sasuke-kun, when you get released, come to my office for information on your future living quarters. Okay? After that, Hiruzen had left the room. The duo had sat through a minute of silence. Naruto, not daring to speak first, wary of his fellow classmates' grief. Hey Naruto, you don't mind if you follow me to my compound? Sasuke hadn't even looked at the blonde when he asked the question. Throwing the sheets off of him, and he got ready to jump out of the window. Sure man, lead the way. Naruto got up and followed Sasuke. 000. The trek through the streets of Konoha was silent for the duo. Instead of observing Sasuke, Naruto had been thinking about Kakashi's words. Hey Kakashi, what do you have to do to be a perfect ninja? Kakashi hesitated with an answer, but he gave one eventually. Well, Naruto, it's commonly believed by shinobi that ninjas are supposed to be tools for the village. Shinobi must put their village first before everything else, and that is what a perfect ninja should strive for. The duo had reached the Uchiha compound. The entrance had been blocked with "Do Not Cross" tape. Sasuke had outright ignored the warning as he walked through anyway. "Hey Sasuke, you don't mind me asking as to why I'm here?" It had seemed a bit odd to Naruto to adventure in the ghostly compound. "You were here with me last night. Right now, you're the only person in this village who understands." No more words were shared until they reached a shrine. "This is the Nakano Shrine. My clan would gather here for meetings." His voice was quiet and tired as he explained the monument. The pair walked inside the main temple. Far right side, underneath the seventh tatama mat, Sasuke mumbled to himself as he had yanked a tatama mat out of the ground. It revealed a secret hideout. Inside said hideout was a stone tablet written with incomprehensible kanji. I can't read any of this." An idea popped into Naruto's head. "Sasuke, try reading this with your Sharingan. After all, this is your clan's hideout." Sasuke had raised his eyebrows, oblivious to the fact that he had awakened his dojutsu. Sasuke had listened to Naruto's advice. Turns out the blonde had the right idea, but still parts of the tablet still remained incomprehensible. "I probably have to awaken the next stage of my Sharingan to read the rest." Disappointment marred Sasuke's face as a dark shadow had covered his eyes. The tablet had not answered any questions he had. It had been just filled with clan secrets and revealed an enhanced level of his Sharingan, none of it speaking about the massacre. Sasuke didn't know what to expect on the tablet, but he hoped it would make sense of this tragic outcome. Naruto, standing next to Sasuke, had spaced out once again. Gaara's assassination came to mind, just like the massacre. A shinobi had tried to kill his own family. But unlike Yashimaru Itachi had succeeded in his goal, also the attempt on Gaara's life was a mission ordered directly from the Kage. But Gigi wouldn't authorize an extermination of a whole clan, right? For that to even be an option, the Uchiha clan must have been a major threat to Konoha, but from Naruto's perspective, they were innocent. Well, innocent as shinobi could be. Shinobi put their village first before everything else. Kakashi's words kept replaying in Naruto's mind, a dark truth beginning to form in his head that he desperately wanted to rule out. It had all seemed inhumane. A mission like that doesn't follow the will of fire his surrogate grandfather frequently lectured him of. Uchihas are the scum of the earth. Your village already had good reasons to erase that cursed clan. Not only did its co-founder Madara Uchiha defected, but the man came back to enact revenge on his own creation. Not only that, but an Uchiha was also responsible for the murder of your parents, also Naruto. Kurama's rabbles had drowned in the background for Naruto. The blonde had long since learned to rule out any information on the Uchiha from the biased fox. "Naruto, you were there that night. You've experienced the same as hell as I. That's why you're the only person I can ask this. Will you assist me with revenge upon that bastard?" The look Sasuke had gave the Jinchuriki startled Naruto. It was filled with hate, determination, and trust. Sasuke then held out his hand, waiting for Naruto to shake it. Without a second thought, Naruto returned the gesture, welcoming his new friend. No, with a situation like this, it would only be right to call him a brother. 000. It was a rainy day in the land of fire, each raindrop scattering on impact when they came in contact with the greenery. The gray clouds had blocked out most of the sunlight, so it had set the forest in a gloomy tone. Currently a lone Konoha by the name of Gishi Inuzuka had been fleeing for his life towards Konoha. The poor man had not taken any breaks for the past hour. His breaths were ragged and forced. Each breath felt like glass, cutting his esophagus. Kinto, his ninkin, was keeping pace with Gishi, ready to catch his master should he topple over at any moment. Gishi was sure he was leaving a blood trail. His left arm had been broken completely, bleeding ever since they ran into that nuke. Yes, if that man, he would be returning with fellow ninja. Gishi Inuzuka was assigned a simple B-rank retrieval mission. A 4-man cell squad consisting of 3 Chunin and 1 Jounin. The objective was to retrieve documents hand-printed and sent by daimyo of the Land of Wind. The documents were originally being transported by a caravan that was guarded by a squad of Chunin from Sunagakure, but they had been attacked by a missing Nin and had requested backup. Arriving upon the rendezvous, they found the corpses of the Chunin escorts all scattered about. Some bodies had leaking skulls, others had fisted-sized indents in their throats. The documents were found inside the sheesh of a civilian corpse that had laid in the caravan in an awkward sitting position. The hint to his death was stranglement. Whoever attacked them hadn't used any elemental manipulation. I don't see anything here that hints to elemental jutsu. Mirai Hyuga, a Chunin recently promoted from the branch house, was observing the scene with his Byakugan. Their blood is fresh. The suspect might still be in the area. Kana Saratobi, second in command, had been looting the Sunan Nin for kunai, shuriken, and other miscellaneous items that are crucial for shinobi. A dark task, yes, but a necessary one for ninjas that are far from their village. These dead bodies tell a story, but nonetheless. Let's hurry back. I want to be back before the barbecue grill closes. Finally, his last teammate, Jiro Akimichi, had put in his input. Typical Akimichi pondering about food. Mirius searched the forest. We must eliminate the enemy if they're still around. It seems that whoever had done this could hide from the Byakugan. Maria had shook his head. He couldn't see anybody. All the blood spilled here belonged to the dead, so there was no scent to follow. All right, let's return. There's nothing else we could do here. The Konoha Nin proceeded to return back to the motherland in silence, unaware of the hell that would break loose upon them. Oyakimichi, I heard your family barbecue joint is the best in the village. You should hook me up with a feast after this mission. Kara had jokingly nudged her partner. Jiro had let out a hearty laugh. Insinuating a feast with an Akimichi? How bold of you, Kana. Very well, just make sure you don't waste what's on your PL dash. Zati Zan. A spear of lightning had shot through Kana, mercilessly ending her life. A bipedal creature made of threads and wire using a blue Oni mask as a face had perched upon a branch right in front of us. A tall, shirtless, tan-skinned man, standing on the monster, had hopped on his said branch. His long brown hair dancing with the end. Since he was wearing a face mask, you couldn't tell his expression. But his green iris shot fear into me immediately. Mirai assessment. Knowledge on the enemy would always wins half the battle. A ninja jumping into the unknown is usually a dead one. Abundant stitches, face mask, unusual eye colors, and shoulder-length hair. It's Kakuzu of the Hidden Waterfall. S-rank, missing Nin also famed bounty hunter. I was sure that each and every one of us hearts sank at the news. Seachi Baika no Hutsu. Jiro's body had grown to the size of a mountain. His huge body had blocked out some of the rain around us. I have taken a secret medicine pill from my clan that boosts my power tremendously, but I will soon die afterwards due to its heavy drawbacks. Quick, deliver the documents, and I'll hold him back. Jiro's deep voice had sent tremors into the ground. It didn't affect anybody present because our chakra held us steady. I had signaled Mirai with a nod, determined to not let Jiro's sacrifice go in vain. We had set off not looking back, somewhat due to respect for Jiro's sacrifice. Another reason is due to fear of the S-rank threat. Gazing upon the Goliath, Kakuzu has silently cursed. Chunin shouldn't be this much of a bother. Kakuzu's back exploded with threads moving like infant snakes hatching from their eggs. After that, he shot forward. 000. It has been 1 hour since we've last seen Jiro. Traveling at top speeds with no break started to put strain upon Mirai. After all, he was still a Chunin. The wet bark under our feet had given away with each leap. So slowing down was not an option. Wet bark had no traction. Having an S-rank threat upon our tail was good enough incentive. On the bright side, with how much land we had covered, our destination should be 2 hours tops. A snap of a twig in the far distance had caused me to throw a couple of shurikens at nothing. Kinta decided to lick my hand, trying his best to alleviate some stress for me. Mirai activated his Byakugan to survey our surroundings, luckily catching the threat in time. Gishi, watch out. What happened next felt like slow motion. Kakuzu had latched upon the trunk of a tree with his 2 arms, using it to swing around it and double-kick me. It was as if the man was a chimp on a monkey bar. I used my left arm to block the attack, but to my avail it felt like blocking a steel bat. I swear my arm had almost broken in half. I went sprawling towards the wet, grassy floor. Decades of being a ninja had allowed me to smoothly transition my fall into a roll. Kakuzu was on me like white on rice as he jumped down to engage me in a taijutsu match. Each blow from him felt like a sledgehammer. I had quickly came to the conclusion that I wouldn't last long under this onslaught. Hakusho. A pressurized blast of wind had pushed Kakuzu away a couple of feet, courtesy from Mirai. Kinta had landed beside me, sharing a look of empathy. Crouching down, I had gotten into post-ion for our clan's signature jutsu. In perfect synchronization, we had leaped forwards, twisting our bodies into two massive drills towards Kakuzu. Gitsuga, said Missing Nin had stood in the same place defiantly, cockily awaiting our attacks. With reactions only that of an S-rank could perform, he had kicked Kinta in the air just mere moments before my dog had made contact. A painful high-pitched yelp had escaped Kinta. I hated hearing that sound. It made blood boil with rage. Right afterwards, he outstretched his hand, grabbing mine in the process. Unfortunately for me, the spinning force necessary for performing the Gitsuga had transferred into my left and mangling my left appendage horribly. One of the threads from Kakuzu had snaked around my waist, stealing a kunai from my pouch. Finishing his combo, Kakuzu had driven his fist into my face. Surely he had broken my nose as one could hear a sick crack. The force from that punch alone had tossed me into a nearby tree. Kakuzu's thread had thrown the kunai into my torso as I landed. Lucky he had missed all my vital organs. By luck or by skill at this point, I hadn't a clue. Mirai had landed next to me as he lifted me to my feet. Gishi-sen, once I throw this flash bomb in the air, I need you to run. Please let me handle Kakuzu. Those documents need to be in Konoha's possession at all cost. It was a miracle that I was able to follow the conversation. That punch should have given me a concussion. I had given Mirai a nod as I ripped the kunai out of my stomach region. Afterwards, I had applied my chakra to the area to withhold the bleeding. Producing a whistle, Kinta had dropped down from the branches and plopped down by my side. Abandoning a comrade for a prideful death had been a tough pill for me to swallow. But the correct decision was clear in this situation. After all, I didn't want to repeat the same mistake like that Hatake fellow did. After a final nod to Mirai, I had steeled my nerves for my inevitable escape. Mirai had wasted no time as he threw the flash bomb in conjunction with an explosive kunai towards Kakuzu. The Missing Nin hadn't even flinched as the explosion set off, giving me a chance to flee the area. 000. The blinding light hadn't bothered Kakuzu that much. It was obvious that they were planning an escape attempt. Such rudimentary tactics could be used by Nin. So when he came, and he only the Hyuga, it came to no surprise. Of course he knew he could have a heart to chase after the Jounin, but that would be high risk. Using so much chakra when he's so close would be too alerting. What do you want from a scum? The Hyuga had tried to start a conversation with me. Troublesome? Oh, well, I'll indulge in his little act. Fulfilling a dying wish wouldn't be so bad. Those documents you are carrying are signed personally by the daimyo himself. I have no idea what secrets it holds, but somebody wanted to pay a hefty price for it in the bleach market. But the eyes of a Hyuga would bring me a fortune if I hand them over to Kumo. My greedy thoughts had started to get my blood pumping. There is nothing better than getting paid, in my opinion. It had seemed the Hyuga had chosen to respond as he shifted into their famous gentle fist stance. This ends here. If you insist. Kakuzu's condescending tone had only brought more anger to his already furious opponent. The battle hadn't lasted long. Mirai had a few tricks under his sleeve, but none of them was able to beat Kakuzu. The poor branch member committed suicide by overload his bird seal with chakra, sealing his precious Byakugan forever. That had left Kakuzu in a sour mood, to which the unfortunate trees around had to suffer. 000. Gishi had finally made it to Konoha. Never before had the man been so relieved to see the familiar green gates. Of course, he had been grateful every time he returned from a mission. But today was a blessing. The only downside was that his radius had been sticking out of his appendage like a sore thumb. The injury had not stopped bleeding since the incident. Due to this, the man had lost a copious amount of blood, so he chose to stop for a brief minute. Managing to retrieve a scroll with his right hand, the Jounin crouched down and started to write a report of the mission. Beckoning his Ninkin closer, Gishi had placed the now finished report in the mouth of Kinta. Here, Kinta, take this to the Hokage, and then come find me afterwards. His Ninkin had given a somber whimper. It's as if the dog knew that this was his last command. Nevertheless, his companion had given a grunt and blasted off towards the Kage's office. 000. Kiba had been ecstatic. Today had been the day his father would return back from his mission. That's why he was in the North District of Konoha, right by the gates. His father had told him this mission would be simple and wouldn't last more than a week. So every day since then, he and some other kids from his clan had been wasting time by racing and playing tag of the sort. Currently now, he had been striking a conversation with one of the vendor merchants on the price of Peculiar Mask. It had looked beautiful, but it was way too expensive for him. But the smell his father had distracted the child from his haggling. Otosan finally arrived. Racing to the north gate of Konoha, he was greeted with the sight of his father walking towards him with a bright smile. But something had been off about his dad. Why does he smell like blood? He doesn't usually walk this slow. Kiba had chosen to ignore these signs, though. The shinobi life will never shed mercy for anybody. His mother had taught him the moment he held a kunai. Hey, Pop, how you been? Come, let's walk home. You can tell me what I've missed out on the way back. I also have a gift waiting for you. Gishi had placed his hand on top of Kiba's shoulder. To Kiba, it had been a show of affection. For Gishi, it was a subtle way of supporting himself up. Childlike wonder had filled Kiba's eyes at the mention of gift. Gishi had chuckled at his antics. Kiba had reminded him of himself so much. The trek towards the Inuzuka compound had been quite slow compared to the normal pace for the energetic Inuzuka duo. A gift? Am I finally getting my face tattoos? Oh, Dad, you missed it. The whole Uchiha clan had been killed by just one person last night. One of my classmates is from that clan. Mom says the traitor that did it was a super powerful ninja also. But no way could he beat the Hokage. Kiba's ramblings eventually blended in with a downpour of rain in the background for Gishi. Stay strong for Kiba. That one thought alone had become a mantra for the man, as each step felt like he would topple over. Before he had noticed, they were in front of their house. Every step on the way had been completed by sheer determination. Since it was raining, there wasn't a lot of fellow clansmen at the front steps of their humble abode. Gishi had revealed a hint for Kiba. Your gift is in the basement. Kiba had zoomed downstairs without a second thought, leaving his dying father by the doorstep. What greeted Kiba was 3 sleeping puppies all meshed together. Echoing footsteps courtesy to his father had distracted Kiba from his awe. Originally, your mother and I had decided to just lend you Akamaru, but you can handle 3 dogs, right? After all, you're my son. A challenge like this one should be no problem for you. Gishi had started to mutter their names, starting by pointing at the white snowball puppy in the middle, Akamaru, shifting his finger to the charcoal puppy on the right, Umu, then finally settling his pointer finger on the puppy to the far left, Kuramaru. I'm sure that you can take care of them. I won't let Y dash. Thud turning around mid-sentence, the sight of his father laying face down in a pool of his own blood had silenced the academy student. He used a hinge to cover himself up. Taking a look at the stairs, he noticed drops of blood that had looked like trail produced by his father. Drops of blood that would have been washed away in the rain. Comprehending the situation in front of him was a task too difficult for Kiba. The Skademe student had been stuck. His focus was on nothing else but his dead father. Then slowly tears had finally started to shed. With the tears followed his cries of despair, which eventually, like the yapping of the puppies behind him, faded into the rain. Some Inuzuka, clan head of the Inuzuka clan, had come tumbling downstairs. The wails of a child would never fail to alert a mother. Hannah, come down here quick. Puppet's gonna be all right, SHSS. The mother had been cradling her child, forcing herself to not dwell on the corpse of her husband. Hana arrived with the company of Kinta and her ninken. See his dead master lay cold on the floor. The dog had stalked over and licked his hand. After that, he let out a howl that was soon followed by the puppies. Then every ninken alike through the compound. The Inuzuka household that day had experienced deep despair. Despair that forged a deep vengeance in the youngest clan. Air point, 3 more steps. 2 more steps. 1 more gap. An explosion had cut off my train of thought. Scaling the trees in the forest of death wouldn't normally be this dangerous. But due to the training regime, courtesy of Sasuke, it had become downright lethal. The objective was to climb the tree successfully while avoiding death. You see, Sasuke had taken a knack to Jinjutsu and had decided to practice the art upon me. If I had known he would be layering Jinjutsu upon exploding tags beforehand, I would have surely declined. I can't lie though, this exercise was proving results for team. After free falling for about 2 seconds, I had flipped my body in the air, planting 2 kunais into the bark of a tree to break my movement in the air. After slowing down for 2 seconds, I kicked myself off and landed in a perfect crouch right next to my dear old friend. How are you going to have to do better than that to catch me with those illusions? Sasuke scoffed as he brushed off my jab. Of course, I haven't revealed that I'm a sensor to Sasuke yet, but god damn it, I need some secrets for myself. I'll let him inside the loop one day. HN, you're just like a cockroach, impossible to get rid of. After sharing a round of laughter, we had walked over to the clearing adjacent to us. Kakashi had been running Gaara to the ground with conditioning exercises. Currently, the poor Jinchuruki was completing a set of push-ups in the beaming hot sun. A waterfall of salty sweat was dripping off his silver hair. Hey team, I've been wondering what's up with your pursuit of Jinjutsu all of a sudden. Without missing a beat, Sasuke's Sharingan had flared to life. After snooping around to find information about him, I found out that he was a prodigy in Jinjutsu. Naruto, I have to beat him in his own game, don't you understand? Ah yes, Itachi. It has now been 2 days after that tragic incident. Getting Sasuke to open up on the first day had been quite difficult, but he eventually came around thanks to my Uzumaki charm. Reaching to our destination, Kakashi had greeted us with his usual eye smile. Sasuke and Naruto, looks like you guys finally want to join us for training, eh? I wonder what's the special occasion. Kakashi's playful banter, mixed with his condescending tone, had never failed to get on my nerves. But I knew he never held any malice, so it was bearable in the end. Whatever. So what's the plan for today? Join Gaara over here and complete 300 push-ups. After that, you will complete 20 laps around this clearing. Without another word, we proceeded to carry out his instructions. It was quite early in the morning, so this exercise should be completed by noon. Our drive to get stronger should help us pass by time. 000. And that makes 3 laps. I exclaimed loudly as I squatted in place, placing my hand upon my knees. The sun was now smack dab in the middle of the sky. Sasuke finished second as he fell down the ground, exasperated due to constant running. I guess to him this torture was ecstasy for his goal, since he hadn't uttered not one word throughout the whole course. Finally, Gaara came lagging behind in last place. His tan shirt was drenched in sweat. Our Konoha leaf, proudly imprinted on the front, had become glossy. His shaking legs had finally given out as he also fell to the ground. As if Gaara's imbalance was Kakashi's cue, he had appeared using Shunshin, an ability that I will soon add to my arsenal if I could only get used to the tunnel vision. I see you all have finished the laps, good job. But it seems I have been assigned to a mission. So Naruto, Gaara, I'll see you at home. Sasuke, take care. Jana, with a wave goodbye, he was gone just like that. I could never follow his movements, but I bet Sasuke could with his incredibly unfair dojutsu. Speaking of dojutsu, I had finally come to a conclusion on what exactly happened on that night. Itachi had to have been on a mission. It's the only explanation that makes sense. The Anbu was absent for the whole incident. The Hokage also never tried to detain the missing nin either. Finally, why would the man cry after sparing Sasuke? Claiming that the massacre was a mission delivered by the Hokage himself would answer all of these questions in one go. But my speculation would be just that, speculation if I didn't question the Hokage myself. A part of me secretly hopes that my theory isn't correct. You guys can go ahead. I need to perfect my fire release. Without another word, Sasuke walked to the other side of the clearing, where an abundance of trees were awaiting to be turned into charcoal. Sometimes I worry about Sasuke throwing himself head first into training all the time. I guess it's his way to cope with everything. Well, shall we go home, Naruto? Gaara inquired with his usual monotone voice. I have other plans, but I'll race you back to Konoha. You're on. 000. Jiraiya, the gallant, one of the prominent members of the legendary Sannin, was currently on his way to meet with the Hokage. After receiving a scroll that relayed an urgent return notice signed by Hiruzen himself, he had no time to dilly-dally. That's why he was gliding through Konoha, hopping from building to building. If he was anybody else, the Umbu would have surely been on his tail by now. But that's one of the perks of being labeled as a Sannin, immunity to protocol. The man had finally arrived at the Kage Tower without even breaking a sweat, scaling the building to go through his signature entrance, the window. Much to his sensei displeasure, of course, if the look of ire he had greeted him with was any clue. But it was soon replaced with his grandfatherly gaze he was commonly known for. Sensei, it's been a while since I have been inside the village. Everything is going fine, I presume. Jiraiya's jovial tone had brought a smile to Hiruzen's face. Jiraiya-kun, it is always a pleasure getting visits from one of my students, even if most of them forget an old man like me. Student and teacher talks like these always erected a peaceful setting between the two. But alas, all good things must come to an end, as Hiruzen hastily created a privacy seal. Jiraiya, I'm recalling you from the field. Why? What about my espionage branch? Do we not need information anymore? Jiraiya-kun, I'm sure you could run your spy network from within the walls of Konoha. There's a threat looming over our village. I suspect a war in the upcoming 3 years. Jiraiya's eye had widened at that spill of information. War had been the last of his suspicions. Ba? Are you sure, Sensei? You see, 3 months ago, Jounin Kakashi Hitaki had been assigned a diplomatic mission in Sunagakure. He was tasked with renewing our treaty with the Kazekage. He succeeded, but brought back a stray. A stray? Who could Hitaki possibly bring back that would ignite a war? He returned with the Kazekage's youngest child dashed. Before Hiruzen could finish his ludicrous statement, Jiraiya had cut him off. What? Jiraiya slammed both of his hands upon the Kage's desk. It was obvious the news had disgruntled the Sannin. Let me finish. Now not only does the child contain Kage blood, but he is also the Ichibi Jinchuriki. What was Hitaki thinking, and why is he not in prison for such incompetence? Jiraiya had crossed his arms as he eased up upon Hiruzen's desk. According to him, it wasn't his decision, but that of your neglected godson. The Sannin had no reply to that, as he just stared ahead with a look of confusion and guilt. That mission had to at least be a rank sensei. How could you let him out of the village so early? I trust Hitaki's ability to babysit Jiraiya-kun. The good news is that Suna believes that their container had died that night. But in the 3 years, that farce could only hold for so long. And all the strings lead back to Konoha. What did you do with the boy? The boy has a name. Gaara is what they call him. I admissioned him into the academy. He will do good for the village. As to the reason why I recalled you from the field, is that I need you to bring Tsunade back. I'm certain that you know of her whereabouts. Jiraiya snorted as he rolled his eyes. Convincing Tsunade to fight for the village again? We need a miracle for that sensei. The sound of dull stomps and banging in the hallways outside of the door distracted the pair. Muffled complaints from the secretary soon followed. Hey, what are you doing? I told you Hokage-sama is currently in a meeting. The door opened as a child with red hair with mixed streaks of orange had barged inside the room, making himself known. It had seemed that Naruto wanted to ask a question if his raised index finger was any indication towards that. But the child's actions had been put to a halt by Jiraiya's presence. After sharing a look between Naruto and Hiruzen, an idea had popped into the Sannin's head. I request to bring the brat with me. Leaning back into his chair, Hiruzen had released his tobacco smoke. I don't see why not. If a Sannin couldn't protect a 6-year-old, then they should be stripped of the damn title. Sweet, I'm going on another mission. Naruto jumped with joy, going alone with the situation he suddenly found himself in. Looks like I have to ask Gigi later. Great. You bet, kid. Adventures with me. The great Jiraiya are worth a lifetime. Naruto had suddenly found Jiraiya's arm around his shoulder. Raising his scarred eyebrow, Naruto had glanced at the man. You are Jiraiya the Gallant? Master of Seals? Konoha's legendary toad sage. Naruto questioned with wide eyes as he raised his voice to display excitement. Also your godfather. One problem at a time, Kurama. The one and only kid. Jiraiya had pointed to himself with his thumb. His teeth sparkled as he grinned. It had taken all of Naruto's strength to quell his face into his professional blank stare. In class, we recently learned about the Sannin and their heroic feats that I must say are quite disappointing in real life. Jiraiya comically fell to the floor as a hearty laugh came from the peanut gallery, Hiruzen. As quick as he fell, he had risen even faster. Come on, kid, I'll show you the ropes of being a legendary ninja. Maybe then I can impress the critique. Jiraiya grabbed Naruto as he substituted out of the Hokage's office, leaving Hiruzen to himself. Somehow his paperwork had managed to double in height throughout the conversation. 000. Crack, crack, thump, crack, crack, thump. Sasuke had been going through his katas with non-stop vigor, only ever taking a break to rewrap bandages around his fists and arms. The pearly white bandages had been stained a brick-colored red due to the constant reopening of the wounds across the child's knuckles. Vengeance had been a really good motivational drive for the last Uchiha. But it had also given the Academy student tunnel vision as he had not noticed the humanoid figure stalking him from a branch above. The creature had a yin and yang mixture to it, with green hair on the top of his head to complete the monster. The man was stuck inside a Venus flytrap plant as he donned a black robe littered with red clouds printed on it. Said spy had been surveilling Sasuke for a good hour. He had been impressed by his dauntless dedication. He would be a good challenge for Madara, don't you think? The white half had spoken in a childlike manner, somehow keeping quiet enough to not alert Sasuke. The white half had been entranced by the rhythmic punches and kicks orchestrated by the Uchiha. The black half had stayed silent, as he just merely observed. You're still planning on handing him the scroll, right? The black half had then retrieved a scroll from their garb. Zetsu, you talk too much. Now, let us start my experiment. Sinking into the tree, the now-named entity, Zetsu, had then sprouted from the ground right behind Sasuke, all without even making a sound. Nice form you got there. White Zetsu's jolly voice startled Sasuke as he hopped away from the pair. A drawn kunai for defense had glinted in the grasps of his shaking hand. Who are you? At Sasuke's questioning, black Zetsu decided to take initiative of this conversation. Who we are or where we are from has no relevance as to why we are here. Child, what is important is that we know what you want, power. Sasuke had been gradually lowering his kunai throughout Zetsu's explanation. Black Zetsu then threw the scroll at Sasuke's feet. Said Uchiha proceeded to snatch the scroll, never taking his eyes off of Zetsu. Inside that scroll lay the contents of katas and instructions to replicate the legendary taijutsu style that was once used by Madara Uchiha. Sasuke had opened the scroll, and true to its word, it contained katas for a taijutsu style. How did you even get this? Sasuke wouldn't get an answer because as soon as he looked up, he was once again alone. Activating his Sharingan, he had quickly studied the scroll. If this gift was to help him get stronger, then no way in hell would he decline it. He knew that defeating Itachi would be in no way an easy task. Sasuke would need all the help he could get to accomplish his goal. But the Uchiha had surveyed the clearing one last time before he hopped back into training. That monster could have easily ended his life there if he had wanted to. And that is an opportunity Sasuke refuses to allow to happen again. 000. So, Bray, you got all your stuff ready? This mission might last longer than a week, depending on how fast Tsunade wants to escape from her debts. A nomad like her can probably skip cities overnight. Naruto responded by showing off a storage scroll. Good, now let's head over to Tanzakagai. There should be an annual parade around this time of year. It's a real hot spot for gamblers, so that's the best place, so search for Tsunade. What does gambling have to do with Tsunade? Jiraiya had chuckled at Naruto's question. It will all make sense once you see her, brat. With that, Jiraiya had shot into the trees, making sure to slow his pace down so Naruto could keep up. Said blonde had dismissed his earlier statement, still in awe at the fact that he was on a mission with a Sannin. Don't praise the pervert too much. How come furball? The man spends his better time peeking upon women in hot springs. Not really all that impressive. So you're saying he is addicted to being a pervert? In a way, yes. Makes sense. Most powerful figures in his league adopt crutches to keep them sane. Like how Gigi smokes his tobacco. When a man goes through 3 wars, it would be concerning if he didn't have vice. You should ask that mortal about your father. He must have information upon the man. I can only tell you so much. Good idea. Oi, Jiraiya. The Sannin acknowledged Naruto with a glance as they leapt from branch to branch. In the books they claim that you taught the 4th Hokage. Is that true? Jiraiya had looked ahead as a fond smile wormed its way onto his features. It's as if the man was overcome by a delightful memory. But if one were to take a second look, they would see a bit of pain dancing in his eyes. Minato was my #1 prize student. I watched him transform from a snot-nosed genin to a brave man. The somber moment had come to an end as Jiraiya quickly switched back into his usual carefree attitude. Is he your hero or something? Yeah, the 4th Hokage is my idol. I even picked up sealing because of him. Naruto finished by revealing his incomplete storage seal. Jiraiya had raised his eyebrow as he peered at the project. For a novice, so young, his work almost has no flaws. It isn't even complete yet, but this seal is so complicated no way a beginner could replicate one. Jiraiya had went into shock as a memory from the great toad, Sage Gamamaru, came to fruition. Jiraiya boy, one day you will have a student with the power to save or destroy the world. It will be your actions that will determine which path your student takes. Could he be the prophecy child Gamamaru predicted? Tell you what, kid, I'll help you fix that storage seal while I tell you stories about Minato as a genin. Yada. All right. 000. Danzo Shimura, elder to the Shinobi Council and advisor to the 3rd Hokage, have been taking a leisurely walk with Shibi Aburame, clan head of the Aburame clan. Not many words were shared between the two, as to be expected. Both adults were men of few words. I appreciate your sacrifice, Shibi. Root needs new soldiers, and with your assistance, our foundation shall stay strong. It's not so much of a sacrifice, but a trade of interest, Shimura-san. I fear that Shino's predicament might injure one of his peers in the future. I trust that you will train him well enough so that he can control his Rinkachu. Worry not. Under my care, Shino will learn how to control his Rinkachu in due time. The duo had started to slow down as they had come across 2 children. Torian Aburame, an adopted son of Shibi. After his father died, Shibi had decided to open his doors to Torian. Then there was Shino Aburame, future clan heir. Shino, this is Danzo. He will help develop your control over the Rinkachu. Danzo crouched down to maintain eye level with Shino. The war veteran had observed the Aburame with a blank stare. I've heard you have a rare ability, boy. I shall mend you into a fine shinobi for the village. Shino had glanced at his father, worried about the current situation. Shino, go along with Danzo. Joining the route would bring immense honor to our family. With a nod, Shino had bid goodbye to his adoptive brother. Torian had been slightly on edge about this transaction, but chose to not intervene. It wasn't his place for clan matters such as this. You will see Shino in a week from now. He'll still participate in the academy, maintaining daily attendance for clan here appearances. After Danzo said his piece, he and Shino began to make their depart. Torian watched the duo escape as their silhouettes became dots on the horizon as time went by. For some reason, watching his brother leave with that man had left a sour taste in Torian's mouth. Shibi placed his hand upon the child's shoulder to catch his attention. This is the best option for Shino. Worry not for your brother, as he is now on a path to greatness. Shibi's explanation had put Torian at ease somewhat, hoping that this really was the best decision for Shino. 000. The bustling city of Tanzakagai had been quite lively today. Young women dressed in scantily clad kimonos and businessmen alike could be found in abundance throughout the streets. Currently, we find our duo having lunch at a random pub by the select choice of Jiraiya. If Naruto were to take a guess as to why he chose this place, would probably be the endowed waitresses. Said blonde was chowing down his favorite dish as Jiraiya slowly ate his bowl of noodles. Emptying his bowl, Naruto pointed his chopstick at the older man. So, Ero Senin, what's the plan on finding Tsunade? Ero Senin, have some respect, Brett, you're talking to a hero here. You might be a hero, but you're still a perv. You can't even finish your bowl without gawking at the waitress every second. Books on anatomy at the academy had enlarged Naruto's vocabulary. A lecherous grin formed on Jiraiya's face as he was distracted by a cute redhead taking orders at a nearby table. But before the man could dish out his rebuttal, a green toad had came into existence with flashy smoke. Jiraiya-sama, I have spotted Tsunade in the far east side of the town. Currently, she's in a bar drinking accompanied by another woman with brown hair. The green toad was the size of a cup. He had seemed proud after reporting the spotting of Tsunade. Did that frog just talk? Naruto had been expecting a lot of things today, but a talking animal was not one of them. A slimy tongue had slapped the Jinchuriki with blinding speeds. I couldn't even react to it. Naruto had been left flabbergasted. An animal with reflexes on par with a ninja? It was such an enigma to the blonde. They are toads, Naruto. You should learn the difference. They're quite sensitive to that particular misconception. Thank you, Jiraiya. Jiraiya flung a fish on a stick into the air. Said delicacy was snatched out of the air and gobbled into the toad's gullet via tongue. After that, the summon had vanished in a cloud of smoke, returning to Mount Mayaboku. I have a summoning contract with toads, and he was one of my summons that I sent on a recon task. It's one of the perks of being so awesome. Ignoring Jiraiya's obvious flex, the child was still in awe at the prospect of summoning talking animals. But now we have a lead on my busted teammate. Come on, kid. In quick succession, Jiraiya grabbed Naruto and bolted out of the pub, jumping on rooftop to the east side of the town. 000. Behind a Nara household, one could find Shikamaru Nara relaxing in his backyard. Shikaku, his father, had invited him outside for today was the day he was finally going to teach his son the basics of their clan's signature jutsu. Shikamaru hadn't been too excited, but of course he was intrigued with the idea of learning a new jutsu. What academy student wouldn't be? Gahimane no Jutsu. Shikaku's shadow underneath him extended to connect with Shikamaru's. After successfully merging, Shikaku raised his hand, his son copying his exact movements. Shikamaru, this jutsu is our family's hidden jutsu, as you already know. After releasing his son's shadow, the man had approached the child. But before I even teach you the hand seals, we must first start with the basics. Shikamaru, will you explain to me exactly what In Chakra is? Moving from his spot, Shikamaru stood up as he addressed his father. In Chakra, the opposite of Yang Chakra, is the physical energy that resides in all human beings. Shikaku smiled proudly. Correct. Now you see, In Chakra is what we apply to our shadows so that we can control it. Shikamaru, today you will find your In energy. Now, come on, sit down and meditate. At the end of his order, Shikamaru sat down upon the grassy field Indian style. Beginning his meditation, the Nara had searched within himself. First, he felt his warm chakra near his stomach region. Separate your chakra into your physical energy, son. Listening to his father's advice, Shikamaru had done just that. After finally managing to find his In chakra, what happened next surprised him. His In chakra had felt powerful. It was on a whole nother compared to his regular chakra. It was an unstoppable force, yet easy to tame. Getting a feel of the ambiguous energy, Shikamaru had understood it like it was second nature. Applying said in chakra to his shadow, he had successfully managed to mutate his shadow. Shikaku stared at the phenomenon with wide eyes. Did he just perform it on the first try? This is unprecedented. Such talent from our clan might be revolutionary. A deep frown had started to moss Shikaku's face. As the army general, the man had learned of the repeating pattern of those who earned the title of prodigy. Itachi Uchiha, the clan murder, Minato Namikaze, the honorable deceased fourth Hokage, and finally the infamous traitor Orochimaru of the Sannin. Each genius destined for a deficiency, Shikaku had not wanted his own son to follow the same beaten path. "Tusan, is everything all right?" Shikamaru's question brung the senior out of his musings. The academy's student had been worried. He had not expected his father to show such dissatisfaction. Quickly fixing his stature, Shikaku smiled fondly once again. "Good job, son, I'm proud of you." Approaching his child, he affectionately ruffled his hair. Shikamaru had nudged his father's hand off of his head, annoyed by his antics, but secretly relieved that he got his father's approval. 000. The duo had arrived at their destination, much to the blonde's ire. The child had swirls in his eyes as he was rudely dropped by Jiraiya. "Remember, kid, keep it professional. We're on a retrieval mission after all." Jiraiya sarcastically appraised Naruto as he dusted himself off. "Stupid sage manhandling me all over the village. A prank should teach this geezer a lesson." Naruto could almost hear his bijou laughing at his unfortunate predicament. Displacing the large blue flaps at the entrance of the bar, Jiraiya had peered inside the facility, instantly finding their target. A well-endowed blonde woman with pigtails guzzling down a bottle of sake, being barely restrained by a brunette who was failing miserably. "Tsunade-sama, please slow down on the drinking. I don't want to carry you back to our hotel again." A pink pig could be seen spectating at the sidelines, donned in a red coat with pearls as accessories. "Nay, Shizen, tonight is the night to party. Join me and have a drink." At the end of the blonde's gesture, she had thrusted her bottle into the air as if she was making a toast. While Sennin wasn't exaggerating when he called her a drunk Jiraiya had leapt towards Tsunade, tackling her with a hug and nestling his face between her breasts. "Tsunade-chan, I'm so glad to see you." Tsunade had been caught off guard as she let out a gasp, muttering Jiraiya's name. But the women must have been bipolar, as her positive nature had been switched with that of pure malice. "Get off me, you damn perv." Her words were followed by a swift but very powerful hook to the face, launching Jiraiya into nearby, flimsy chairs. Said chairs had scattered about like pins getting rammed by a bowling ball. Naruto watched the spectacle with a large sweat drop forming upon his forehead. These people are Sannin, But Kakashi's motto had replayed in his head. Look underneath the underneath. Yes, these people could still kill Naruto before he could even blink. Maybe the more powerful you are, the more you have control of your surroundings. That's why we need to become powerful, Naruto, so fools like them have no say in our future. Jiraiya had slowly gotten back up, rubbing his face as he signaled Naruto to approach them. "But seriously, Tsunade-chan, it's a pleasure seeing you again. Come on, let's catch up over a drink." The group made their way to settle down at the table Tsunade was previously occupying. As soon as they sat down, Jiraiya picked up a nearby saucer on the table as he poured sake into it. Twirling the flat cup around, Jiraiya set his sights upon the brunette who was sitting beside Tsunade. "Shizen-chan, you're 21 now, right? Time flies. How has life as a nomad treated you so far?" "She's almost the same age as Nisan." A plan struck Naruto as he schemed. Shizune smiled as she scooped her pig up, ready to answer, but Tsunade had decided to cut her off. "Cut the crap, Jiraiya. I know you didn't track me all the way here to ask my apprentice about her life. Also, who's the kid?" The woman finished off her question by rudely pointing at Naruto. "Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage. Nice to meet you, Bachan." A tick mark appears on the slug princess' forehead as she accessed Naruto with a death stare. Tsunade then leaned into the table as she shared a level gaze with her fellow blonde. Listed Kid Hokage is a fool's job. Here is some advice, kid. That village will eat up all of those who are precious to you, and becoming Hokage won't put an end to that either. If anything, chasing that dream will bring death upon you, for certain. A sullen look overcame Naruto. The amount of death and insane scenarios he had experienced in the past 4 months testifies to her statement. Who have you lost, Bachan? Naruto asked with his lids covering his eyes halfway. Tsunade's eyes widened as she shifted her attention to the sake bottle before her, pouring the alcoholic beverage inside her sake cup. Why should I tell you, brat? Tsunade sneered as she took another sip of her alcoholic beverage. To help me understand, so I don't repeat the same mistakes you have. Jiraiya had let Naruto steer the conversation for now. More communication could be the key for getting Tsunade to cooperate with returning to the village. The medic Nin had set her sights upon the table now. With a nod, she had seemingly come to agree with Naruto. I once had a lover named Dan at one point. Like you, he aspired to become Hokage. But in the Third World War, he had been killed on a mission. I also had a little brother, Nawaki. After taking a sip of her sake, cup, Tsunade let out a broken smile. You both share such a vibrant smile, you know. He was only a genin when an explosive seal took his life. Naruto had been captivated in Tsunade's story, listening word for word. Loss must go hand to hand with becoming a shinobi. I must become stronger to protect my friends. She makes it seem as if loss is inevitable. Like a cycle, do you have what it takes to break that cycle? Naruto had once again decided to not answer the fox, pondering if he really does have what it takes to break that vicious cycle. A loud cough from the Toad Sage had brought Tsunade's attention. Tsunade, the reason why I'm here is because Sensei wants you back in the village. The sake bottle in Tsunade's hand shattered. Shooting up from her chair, she stood defiantly, ready to flee at any moment. No way in hell am I going back, dash. Sensei will label you and Shizen nuke Nin if you refuse to comply. Tsunade's hand shot out and grabbed Jiraiya's collar, pulling him so close that their faces were only 4 inches apart. Sensei would never dare threaten me with something like that. Tsunade, you can't turn your back to the village forever. We need you. Sensei fears for our future, and frankly, I do also. Swanda looked at Shizen. While she herself could handle becoming a nuke Nin, just fine, she worried about her. Tsunade also had not wanted to quarrel with her teammate. It was already bad enough Orochimaru defected. Letting out a pain-sigh, Tsunade had settled down. Very well. Shall we head back? Nene, what's the rush? The night is still young, Tsunade Heim. The Senju princess raised her glass to that, actually agreeing to one thing Jiraiya had said today. 000. After the two seniors had wasted the night partying away, they had grown tired and needed a rest. So here we were in the hotel room Tsunade and Shizen had rented on the previous day. Tsunade and Jiraiya had been so drunk that they fell asleep instantly. Both Sannin snoring obnoxiously loud. Now it was just Shizen and Naruto. Said woman was grooming Naruto's hair, while the blonde was applying finishing touches to his storage seal. Your hair is such an exotic color, Naruto-kun. Did you dye it like this? Hee, no, my hair is gradually changing to red. Naruto had been slow and steady with his strokes, finding comfort in Shizen's womanly touch. Is this a seasonal change? In a way, sort of. Earlier, Jiraiya mentioned that you were 28. Is that true? Asking for a woman's age is rude, Naruto-kun. Shizen puffed her cheeks as she feigned anger. If you must know, yes, I'm 28. My older brother Kakashi is 27. Kakashi-san, I remember him. He was a year before me in the academy. But aren't you an Uzumaki? He became my legal guardian. One more layer of ink, and the Jinchuriki was complete with his makeshift storage seal. Oh, how thoughtful of him. Shizen had been thoroughly enthralled with detangling Naruto's mop of hair. But he's always alone. In my opinion, I think he needs a lover. Shizen accidentally tugged Naruto's hair a little too hard. Naruto squinted his eyes as Shizen became a bright shade of red. The child had clutched in not messing up the ceiling array. To him, this had been a form of training. In his logic, he will always be under pressure in battle, so it would be his best interest to get accustomed to it. Well, that's none of my business, and frankly, it shouldn't be yours either, Naruto-kun. Shizen spoke with haste as she stopped playing with Naruto. Yeah, I guess you're right. Have you found somebody special yet, Shizen-san? You should focus more on that ceiling, Naruto-kun. Playing Cupid would be a grave misuse of your time. Shizen stood up and went to feed Taunton, refusing to entertain Naruto any longer. But that didn't matter as Naruto had finally completed the storage seal. Yada, I did it, Kurama. You don't know if it works for sure yet. HN, retrieving a kunai from his pouch, Naruto had set it smack dab in the middle of the array. Applying chakra to the seal, the kunai vanished with a puff of smoke, successfully storing it in space-time. Naruto heard clapping behind him. Turning around, he saw Shizen supporting him from the kitchen with a round of applause. Naruto chuckled as he let out a big smile, proud of himself. 000. The return of Tsunade Senju had set ablaze a sense of celebration throughout the streets of Konoha. Civilians and shinobi alike partied throughout the day as they rejoiced the return of the Senju princess. Vendors have been working overtime as children littered and played without much supervision. Even the academy had been closed for the day. Paper lamps designed with the Senju clan crest could be seen decorating almost every shop in the village. Some elders had even wept once they heard the news, claiming that it was a blessing from the gods themselves. There was no telling how long the party would last, as it was lively, and it was only the first day she had arrived. It seems your return has caused an uproar. Welcome back, Tsunade-chan. After welcoming back his law student, Herzuin set his attention upon Shizen. Welcome back home, Shizen-san. I'm glad to be back, Hokage-sama. Shizen blushed as she bowed to the Kage, flushing at his praise. Sensei, can you explain as to why you would threaten me by labeling me as a fugitive in the bingo book? You know how I feel about the shinobi life. I retired for a reason. Herzuin interlaced his finger as he laid his chin upon the bridge of his fingers, narrowing his eyes as he glared at Tsunade. Shizen, as of today, you will be resuming ninja duty. Please stand by for future information. You are dismissed. Shizen had bowed one last time as she scurried out the office. With a snap of his fingers, all of the umbu hidden in the room fled. Tsunade, there is a war on the horizon. Now, right now, I won't issue you to go back on the field, but insist that you run the medic ward. Va? No, Sensei, I can't dash. Tsunade, I refuse to let the village that your ancestors had worked so hard to create be crumbled to the ground because of your lost loved ones. I lost my wife too, Tsunade. The village had taken her, but I still stand here, protecting it to this day. A pregnant pause in the conversation drew out the tension between the two. Hiruzen finally let up his pressing aura as he leaned back into his chair. You have to let go, child. Dan wouldn't want you wallowing over him forever. You still have Shizen, Jiraiya, and me. Fight to protect us. Don't let your will of fire extinguish so soon. Standing from his seat, he had gone over and embraced the slug princess in a hug. It took a while, but Tsunade eventually gave in returning the hug with barely any force. But Sensei, my hematophobia will affect my line of work. It is going to be impossible for me to be medic. Breaking away from the hug, Herzuin went back to his desk and retrieved an empty, small scroll. You will visit the Yamanakas first thing tomorrow for therapy. After Hiruzen was done writing in the scroll, he walked over to the messenger, hawk conveniently perched on the rim of his window. Inserting said scroll into the small pouch wrapped around its leg. The bird then fluttered off, delivering the message. Now, let us celebrate the Senju festival. It's after all in your honor. A deep rumbling caught both of their attention as they looked outside the windows. Below, one would see Jiraiya being chased by a mob of women. GKI, why must you betray me so? That's for earlier, ERO Senin. One could also see Naruto keeping back, hoping from rooftop to rooftop, enjoying the fruits of his prank. A large sweat drop simultaneously formed on both if their heads as they spectated the scene. It's good to be home, I guess. Naruto, regular speech. Determination, firmness of purpose, resoluteness. 2. The process of establishing something exactly by calculation or research. The following day in Konoha had been quite sluggish for the majority of the civilian market in Konoha. Due to the raging party yesterday, there had been a slight slowdown in pace due to all the fatigue. Of course, the shinobi side of the village had shown no sign of being affected. Speaking of shinobi, one could find Tsunade at the entrance of the Yamanaka clan compound. It was a rather large one, not quite as huge as the Hyuga or the now-deceased Uchiha, but it was relevant to size. The Senju princess was now ready to start her therapy, to deal with whatever Shrinker Sensei had offered as the answer. Welcome, Tsunade-sama. Inoichi-san is expecting you at the main house. Would you mind if I escort you? A male clan member with honey blonde hair attributed with a jagged face had welcomed the Sannin. Tsunade nodded gently as she followed the Chunin into the compound. The aesthetics of the Yamanaka clan weren't formal like the Hyuga, but more of a familial, comforting type. The patches of grass outlining the dirt road were certainly well taken care of. You know, this is my first time entering your compound in over 20 years. I must say your quarters are quite as beautiful as ever. Tsunade praised the compound as she greeted each clansman that crossed her path with a wave. They bowed to her as she passed by. Why, thank you, Senju-sama. The male Yamanaka must have been proud to get a compliment from a Sannin if the smug grin hadn't given it away. Coming to an abrupt stop, they had reached the main house. There stood Inoichi, the clean head, proudly awaiting the legend. Welcome, Tsunade-sama. Please come inside. Inoichi was the head of Konoha intelligence division. Inside of a person's mind was no strange place for this man. Dealing with trauma should be a breeze for the Yamanaka clan head. After entering the humble abode of the Yamanakas, they had come to a stop in their kitchen, greeting Inoichi's wife Nobuko as she was boiling a kettle full of water. When they took a seat, she placed down steaming hot cups of tea for both of them. When Hokage-sama informed me of your fear of blood, I was quite surprised. The irony of it all must be very inconvenient for you. Inoichi had let out a chuckle at the end of his sentence. I'm glad my hindrance brings you amusement, Inoichi-san. Tsunade calmly lifted her beverage as she blew on it. My apologies, Tsunade-san. If you don't mind, I would like to offer a bargain with you. The last Senju narrowed her eyes at the word bargaining. It only meant bad news when it came from the mouth of a ninja. And what is this trade that you offer? Tsunade's refreshment had almost spilt as she boldly pointed at Inoichi. We cure your trauma, and in exchange you train my daughter. Empty laughs echoed throughout the kitchen. What makes you think I'll accept these terms, Inoichi-san? Last time I checked, fixing my trauma is a direct order from the Hokage. Also, I really don't have time for favoritism. Favoritism? You're really viewing this from the wrong angle, Tsunade-sama. Think of it as not favoritism, but you helping the village by producing a fine kunoichi. Maybe a future legend, perhaps. If Jiraiya-sama did it once, then why can't you? You're going to need more leverage than that Yamanaka-san. I see. You know, my clan's flower shop has been gaining mass popularity recently. I believe the reason why might pique your interest. Tsunade raised her eyebrow as Inoichi got up to retrieve a purple bottle from his pantry. You see, recently our botanists have taken an interest in fermenting. One would say we actually mastered the craft. Inoichi poured the clear liquid into a cup, filling it halfway. The man then slid the glass of alcohol across the table. Try it out for yourself. Your opinion is certainly appreciated. The slug princess had only taken a sip, but the bitterness had hit her like a swift hook. This brew was wickedly amazing, and the Sannin only took a sip, but she had already felt intoxicated, if only a little. This is the best alcohol I've ever had in my life. Inoichi sat down with the bottle, donning a gentle smile, knowing he's got Konoha's legendary sucker in his grip. Accepting my proposal might be in your favor. You see, our recent batch contains a lot of extra bottles. A mistake I recon will be repeated frequently in the future. Tsunade had not been surprised at the turn of events. After all, this is what Yamanakas do. They adhere to your wants and needs so naturally. Never underestimate their social skills, that's for sure. With her hands tied, Tsunade had no choice but to give in to her alcoholic tendencies. You have yourself a deal, Inoichi. Swanda caught the bottle that he had flung at her. Oh, and Tsunade-sama about your therapy sessions. Ino will be in charge. Tsunade's eyes widened as she stared at the jounin. You can't be serious. You can't just leave such an important task like this to an academy student. It will be best if you don't underestimate our clan Senju-sama. A sensei learning from her student. Quite poetic, don't you think? After finishing his explanation, he nodded towards his wife. Without a word, Nobuki went to retrieve their child by yelling her name upstairs. Small footsteps could be heard from pounding against stairs, growing louder by the second. Also, I advise you not to drink during your sessions. It might hinder your progress. Inoichi gave one last piece of advice before he scooped up his daughter. Being in charge of the intelligence sector makes Inoichi a busy ninja, someone who doesn't have all the free time for his family. So it never takes much for Ino to enjoy her dad's presence. After twirling his daughter around one last time, the man gently set her down. Ino-chan, today is the day we finally begin training you in our family techniques. Are you ready? Ino nodded frantically as she listened to her father. Now that he finally trusts her enough for the clan's secret technique, she wouldn't disappoint him. Hi, Tu-chan. You will heal Tsunade-sama trauma. She has hemophobia, and she must overcome it. Ino then finally took notice of the Sannin casually sitting in her kitchen. Her jaw dropped as one of the famous Sannin stood in her house. Hello, Tsunade-sama. The alcoholic hero blood ran cold, but she still managed to keep with the charades. Well, if you excuse me. Inoichi left the house silently, vanishing into the air like a snuffed-out candle fire. A pregnant silence fell upon the two for better of 3 minutes. He's got to be kidding. I will not tolerate this disrespect bestowed upon me. Inoichi, you're in serious trouble. Tsunade's calm demeanor held strengths beyond legends as she stared daggers at the academy student. Oh, my God, what is ASN? Breathe. No, this can't be real. Ino's legs felt weak as she gazed upon the Senju legend. The little girl could barely catch her breath. Fortunately for her, she finally found her cool. Tsunade-sama, it is a plea dash. Your father isn't coming dash. The duo stopped talking as they both cut each other off. Tsunade hesitated before letting Ino go first. So you're really Tsunade Senju? Tsunade smiled. The one and only. Tsunade said cockily as she leaned back into her. Ino looked awed as she placed her thumb on her chin, striking a thinking pose. Wow. I have a question, Lord Senju. Just call me Tsunade Ino-chan. Go ahead, shoot. Tsunade shot a finger gun gesture with her left hand at Ino. What made you finally return back to Konoha? Ino pulled out the chair her father was previously occupying and sat on it, resting her chin upon the back of her hand as she stared whimsically at the senior. Tsunade cupped her chin with her pointer finger and thumb, striking her thinking pose. I guess my will of fire was never extinguished. Stars formed in Ino's eyes as she gawked in awe. Were you by yourself? I heard that you had to be taken down by a whole squad of jounin. Tsunade gasped. I would never take down a fellow Leaf soldier. Tsunade contemplated, wondering if the information she was about to share was classified. Oh well, she was a Sannin. Whatever repercussions that came her way, she could surely deal with them. You know, Ino, it was actually one of your classmates that escorted me back here. Ino reacted comically as she almost fell out of her chair, sputtering out demands, requests for their identity. Tsunade leaned back into her chair and she cupped her. I believe his name is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto? No way. He's known for being the dead last. Underestimating that brat is a common mistake, Ino-chan. Don't follow the crowd. Ino had no words as she absorbed the information from Tsunade. Don't follow the crowd? Before Ino could get sidetracked about Naruto, The task her father assigned her came back full force in her upstraight. Ino puffed out her cheeks and asked in the most professional tone the girl could muster. "So do you freeze up at the mention of blood?" A deadpan expression overcame Tsunade as the senior decided to indulge Ino by letting her play therapists. 000. Shizen was currently walking to the missions boards ready to be assigned her first official mission now that she's officially back in the ninja ranks. Instead of just only wearing her usual kimono, she now rocked an open Chunin flak jacket over it. She was being trailed by Naruto, Sasuke, and Gaara. The trio was perched behind a water tower adjacent to the building across from her. "So she is Kakashi-san's new girlfriend?" Gaara asked innocently, observing their interaction intently. Naruto snickered as he dispelled a clone further down that was trailing Shizen. "Yep, ever since I told her about Kakashi on the mission, she has been interested ever since. Come on, she just entered the building. Let's move to the windows in the back." Entering the building, Shizen spotted Hitaki Kakashi reading his iconic orange book, Aika Paradise, as he was standing in a line of jonin. "I guess it won't hurt if I introduce myself." Shizen casually approached Kakashi, the copycat ninja himself. "Kakashi Hitaki, nice to properly meet you. You're Tsunade's apprentice, Shizen, correct? I hope you're accommodating to the leaf well." "Oh, the village is just like how I remembered when I left. You know, your brother Naruto was talking very highly of you on my retrieval mission." Kakashi quickly senses Naruto's chakra at the mention of his name. "How flattering. Now, excuse me, I have some students that need a lesson taught." Shizen sighed disappointingly as the gray-haired man walked off the other way. 000. "Naruto, this has to be the dumbest plan you have ever made yet." Sasuke shifted in his crouching position as he used his Sharingan to read the adult's lips. "Oh, be quiet, I know you're just as interested as me. You're already an accomplice, so it's too late to back out now." The grin on Naruto's face was the size of a dinner plate. "So what's our next move?" The new voice addition startled the trio, causing them to slowly turn their heads to the end of the branch. There sat Kakashi reading Aika Paradise casually. The trio blanched before they quickly pulled their escape maneuver. "Damn it, Sasuke. You were supposed to be on the lookout. Quick, Gaara." After releasing their hangest, Naruto and his posse scattered in different directions. A wave of sand blocked the Jounin from seeing which directions they went. Kakashi looked on upon their escape with amusement. "Even though I confiscated Naruto's smoke bombs, he still found a way to limit my sight. Yes, this is the initiative thinking they would need to survive in the ninja world. They're also improving on their stealth. This time it only took me 10 seconds for me to notice them." 000. In the academy, we see Sasuke in a heated spar with the third Hokage. Hiruzen shifted back as he leaned away from a swift kick performed by the Uchiha. Capitalizing the Uchiha's imbalance for a split second, the old man's foot launched into Sasuke's stomach only to reveal that he hit a clone. A round of surprised gasps came from the audience. Hiruzen shot a glance at Naruto as he sidestepped a jab from Sasuke, twisting his body in the process. "Gah!" Sasuke's yelp of pain echoed throughout the classroom. Most of his fellow classmates cringed at the impact. Hiruzen had finished the spar with a well-placed axe kick on the back of Sasuke's neck. "I think he knows that was your clone." Gaara itched closer to Naruto as he whispered his comment. "He's the Hokage, Gaara. It would be a shame if he had not." Naruto leaned back against the wall. The current room they were in was completely vacant of furniture, except for the huge tatami mat on the floor. All of the students were up against the wall as they spectated the sparring match. Hokage-sama graced their class with a visit today. The man then ended up deciding to test Rookie of the Year. Sasuke approached the duo limping slightly as he held his neck. The last Uchiha decided to take a seat right next to them, refusing to release any grunts of pain. "You overextended your last jab. That left you wide open," Gaara told Sasuke as he settled down. A humble HN was his response. The Sand Child had developed a sort of running gag with the Uchiha to vocalize his mistakes. Gaara claims that it will strengthen his patience. Naruto claims that it's his best attempt at humor. The almighty Sharingan strikes again. Naruto rounded off his snide remark with jazz hands. Before Sasuke could even retaliate, his trusty fangirls were there to the rescue. The group of girls were led by Sakura Haruno, #1 Sasuke fanatic. "Shut up, Naruto Baka, you wish you could fight like Sasuke." Sakura got into Naruto's face as she jammed her pointer finger into his goggles. He would be lucky if he even lasted a second with Hokage-sama. One of the girls in the group added her 2 cents. Naruto chose to step away from the group. Keeping in character had become drastically difficult as more days went by. "Girls, please settle down." I'm sure whatever Naruto said held no animosity. Hiruzen's grandfatherly tone extinguished the tension instantly, easily catching the attention of the whole class. "Sasuke, your performance was terrific. I expect more from you in the future." Sasuke nodded his head, not bothering to validate the Kage's praise. Naruto leaned into his fellow Jinchuriki and whispered, "Gaara, guess what?" Gaara raised his eyebrow to show curiosity. "I finally managed to enhance the storage seal." Naruto pulled a piece of paper from his pocket and quickly scribbled down kanji, creating a seal matrix. Instead of it now just sealing objects with a pulse of chakra, the function is now continuous with a stream of chakra. In other words, you can now just seal all of your sand and not walk around with a huge container in the future. Gaara's eyes widened at the news, even though he refuses to use his sand on fellow classmates. It would be useful for future battles and training with Kakashi. Wouldn't the chakra intake for this be too much? Gaara asked as he took the seal from Naruto. Although Gaara was a Jinchuriki, the usual chakra cost for a storage seal would hardly affect him. But having that same cost stacked up for a prolonged time would definitely leave him exhausted within 2 minutes tops. Well, that's of course without tapping into his Biju reserves. I modified that also. A genin could even use this seal for a while and not get exhausted. Naruto's new project sounded promising to Gaara. In the distance, one Yamanaka Ino was observing Naruto fuss about his seals curiously. The scoop from Tsunade on her fellow classmate had really given her cold feet. She had been completely avoiding the class pariah, observing him from the background to see if the Sanin's rumors were true. Shockingly, Ino was sure that Naruto had caught her a few times, but he had never confronted her for some reason. LNO then brings her attention to the Hyuga heiress seating a row directly behind Naruto, staring longingly at her fellow blonde. Ino shuddered. No way in hell was she going to follow in Hinata's footsteps. Swallowing her angst, the girl turned on her natural Yamanaka charm as she approached Naruto. "Hey Naruto." The blonde Jinchuriki turned around in a flash as a huge smile adorned his features. "Hey Ino, what's up?" Ino cringed as Naruto practically yelled at her with his greeting. But the girl furrowed her eyebrows as she noticed something off. He was just using his inside voice to talk to Gaara, but now he's yelling. Maybe she was over-exaggerating his actions and looking too much into nothing. But how could somebody continue with such inconsistency and ignore such obvious social cues when it's evident that he has friends to practice said social cues with? Ino's gossip tendencies would surely not let her give up on the enigma that is Naruto Uzumaki, no, not by a long shot. "I noticed that you miss class a lot." "Why?" Naruto scratched his head as he looked to the ceiling as if the answer was on the roof. The academy is boring. Plus, I'm going to be Hokage one day, so this is a waste of time." Ino deadpanned as she placed her fists upon her hips. "You know you have to pass the academy to even become a ninja, right?" "Yes, so what?" Ino decided to back off for now. She could tell that continuing on this conversation would only bring her a headache. Interaction with Naruto for such a long time might also ostracize her from her peers. As she was walking away, Naruto had let out a few words that caught her attention. "You walk with a lot of purpose, Yamanaka-san. Maybe you should learn how to sneak silently if you're training to become a kunoichi." Oh, that settles it. Yes, she wasn't done with Naruto, not by a long shot. 000. 3.5 years later, early morning. Today was the day of graduation where the gang would finally begin their journey on becoming shinobi and kunoichi. On this bright morning, Hiruzen had gathered a few select elite jounin for a meeting. Said topic was discussion for the future of the latest generation. First, I would like to thank all of you for gathering here today. Now let's sort these graduates into teams, shall we? The aged Kage took a drag from his pipe as he shuffled through the academy student reports. I'm sure you will appropriately choose a capable jounin to cater the next Ino Shikicho generation, well Hokage-sama. Shikaku added in his 2 cents as he leaned against the wall. You should hold no worries, Shikaku-san, as I entrust them into my very own son, Asuma. Asuma raised his eyebrow, surprised by the news. We haven't discussed this, Hokage-sama. The irritation in Asuma's voice was clear as day. Oh, what's wrong, Asuma-kun? Is babysitting 3 genin too much of task? Asuma retrieved a pack of cigarettes from his front pockets on his vest as he cast aside his dissatisfaction, refusing to step down from his father's challenge. Of course not. Enough with your family quarrel, Sarutobi. Hokage-sama, we must move on to more pressing matters. My daughter needs a capable jounin to mold her into a fine clan head. Hayashi Hyuga, current clan head of the Hyuga clan, had voices once. Hate to agree with White Eyes here, but I too am concerned for my son's future. After Gishi's death, that boy has been driven. Some also added in her comments. Her pack of dogs standing ready right next to her. After taking a glance at Kiba's and Hinata's graduation reports, Hiruzen placed the papers down. I have decided to assign jounin Kurinai Yuhi to lead Team 9 consisting of Kiba Inazuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame. Hayashi had voiced no objections due to having already met Kurinai. Some, on the other hand, was skeptical on the choice. The newly promoted jounin Hokage-sama? Surely you must be mistaken. To Kurinai's credit, the woman had not flinched at the targeted growls from the clan head's Ninken. In due time, you will soon understand how to place your trust in the Hokage's decision, Sum-san. The dog lady's back tensed as if she'd been slapped, slightly embarrassed from her unprofessional input. In all honesty, after reviewing all of these evaluation receipts, I must say, this generation contains the largest quantity of promising students than any other previous class in decades. Even a civilian this year holds promise. Selecting a single file from the stack, Hiruzen held it up to read. The only genin that graduated from a civilian family this year, Sakura knowledge, competent ninjutsu. Yes, with talent like that, she's surely to survive in this shinobi world. In all honesty, I'd say they would even surpass our current senior genin. Hushed whispers and murmurs once again spread the crowd of jonin. Team 10 is easily the strongest genin team Konoha has at her disposal. For Hiruzen to make that bold claim spoke levels about his faith for the next generation. So who will this civilian girl be placed under Lord Third? Anko inquired as she kept cleaning her kunai with a dull white rag. Hiruzen took a long drag of his pipe. Well, of course. 000. Man, I hope Kakashi doesn't fail us like he did his other 5 previous teams. A sigh escaped Naruto's lips as he continued to read Intermediate Level of Fuinjutsu, a book Jiraiya had lent to him on his 12th birthday. Today was orientation, and their final day of school was about to start. Right now, Sasuke, Gaara, and I were all sharing a desk, waiting for Irika to reveal the teams. Right now, said Chunin had just entered the room, shifting through papers. You really think those genin had a chance on the field? Not even one could notice when academy students were spectating their bell tests. Sasuke criticized in his usual bored tone. In their defense, Sasuke, we are really good at our now official job. Sasuke shot Gaara an aloof eye roll as he continued to stare forward. Before Naruto could add in his 2 cents, he was interrupted by his sweetheart. Naruto-kun, I see the dead last got some new threads. Ino Yamanaka, top kunoichi of the year, approached the group confidently. Ever since she became Tsunade's apprentice, she soared through the ranks. The only other female student to best her was Sakura, who got first place in studies. Instead of the bright orange jumpsuit Naruto used to wear everywhere, He now donned a very dark, burnt orange long-sleeved Jonin shirt. A light blue Uzumaki swirl was printed on the back, right above vertical kanji, saying 9. His right sleeve was torn and singed. Naruto had wrappings spread over his entire right arm, with kanji printed on each bicep. For his pants, he had black umbu joggers accompanied by a metal chain attached to the pockets and black sandals. A Hitai, the same color of his shirt, was used as a bandana to cover his red hair. His left eye was still scared. I see you also got a new look, Ino-chan. Ino now wore a gray mesh shirt, and over it a purple-colored kimono with short sleeves and white lining around the collars, which she secured with a white sash. Black skin-tight shorts were her undergarments. She also wore white arm warmers and white wrapping over her calves, which had 2 seals printed on her left, with black hair was loose as it reached down past her neck. Around her neck was a tied Hitai. Ino then turned her attention to Gaara. Gaara-kun, you also upgraded. Wow, your whole group really wanted to show off today, huh? Sasuke rolled his eyes as he turned away from the blonde. Sasuke now wore a blood-red short-sleeve shirt with a high collar. The Uchiha crest stitched on both of his wrists, he had wrappings with seals on them. A black Hitai wrapped snugly on his right arm. Completing his outfit, he wore black umbu pants with open-toed sandals, Shippuden sandals. For his belt buckle, he had a tanto attached to the back of his waist horizontally. Gaara, still rocking a face mask, had his gray hair cut short with a messy top. He had a gray mesh shirt under a brown zip-up jacket with a sash that had 2 seals marked on it, tied around his waist. A pair of black pants with wrappings around his ankles, completed by black sandals. Are you ready for your Genin team, Yamanaka-san? Gaara asked as he calmly crumpled a leaf to dust he was holding. I already know who my teammates are. I don't think Hokage-sama would discontinue the Ino-Shikicho trio this year. All right, class, settle down. Irika's yell silenced the classroom as everybody got into their seat. Ino left and went up a level to sit with Choji and Shikamaru. Okay, first I would like to start off by saying that I am proud of every genin that I see here. As of today, you will start your shinobi career out on the field. Irika then gave a long speech that none of us really paid attention to except Sakura. Naruto looked up from his book as he noticed Irika started to name out the teams. Team 10 contains Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akimichi. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. There was no audience feedback. Team 9 is in circulation. Team 8 will consist of Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame. Your Jonin sensei, Kurinai Yuhi. Now Team 7 will hold Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hitaki. After Irika finished assigning off teams, he turned his attention to Gaara. Gaara Hitaki, you have special instructions to head to the Hokage's office. Murmurs started to spur throughout the classroom. All right, time for lunch. All genin must return here in 10 minutes. Dismissed, Irika then left the classroom. Not soon after, Gaara arose from his seat. Well, off to see what Hokage-sama has planned for me. See you guys. Sasuke gave a nod as Naruto gave Gaara a high five. With nothing else to say, Gaara used Sand Shunshin to leave. Nearby students stepped back as they magically saw Gaara turn into a wisp of sand. Naruto turned his attention to the door as he noticed Kakashi arrive with 3 other jounin. He's early? Huh, I wonder what's the occasion. A small chuckle came out of Sasuke, as even he was amused. Sakura came up and swooned over Sasuke. Sasuke-kun, aren't you glad we're on the same team? It's almost like it's fate, don't you agree? Sasuke totally ignored the pinkett as he stared back at Kakashi. Kakashi let out a cough to grab her attention before he ordered all 3 of them to follow him. They set at a heavy jog to Training Ground 7. Kakashi assumed Sakura couldn't hop from rooftop to rooftop if her lack of endurance didn't hint at that. Note to self-teacher chakra control, ASAP. Kakashi thought to himself right before he and his team arrived. The ever-slowly sway of grass in the field brought upon a calming waited for Sakura to catch her breath as she was wheezing on the floor. It's obvious that she was on a diet. What a project I have here, Kakashi grimly thought. Sakura finally stood up as she caught her breath. Okay, since I know two of you already, I will get to know Sakura personally later. For now, you need to be tested for graduation. So here is the simple task. You have to take these two bells. Kakashi held up two silver bells attached to red string. He then tied them to his waist. Before time runs out on the clock, I had set when I started this speech. Sakura looked to the side and saw another Kakashi place a timer on a log set for noon. Then he bursted into smoke. All right, begin. Sasuke quickly jumped next to Naruto as he started to debrief his plan. You keep Kakashi busy. I will debrief Sakura of the plan, Sasuke ordered as he jumped off to find the girl. Naruto nodded as he stood his ground, ready to take on his sensei. Kakashi stashed away his book in the pocket of his flak jacket. Taking Naruto lightly is kind of dangerous after all. Getting into his stance, Kakashi rushes his student with no mercy. Naruto summoned 6 clones, sending them in front of him. Kakashi sent a sharp kick into the first clone's head, poofing it. He was then assaulted by a golden chain. Jumping to the side, a clone was there waiting for him. Kunai clone then made a swipe at the bells. Regaining his balance, quickly Kakashi axed kicked the clone's wrist, successfully shattering it. Using the cloud of smoke to his advantage, Sasuke shot out from the smoke, Tanto poised to biceps the Jounin. Kunai met blade as sparks flew between the exchange of blows. Sasuke's Sharingan ablazed as he met Kakashi parry for parry, thrust for thrust, and swipe for swipe. The young Uchiha had kept the Jounin at bay, or so it had seemed before Kakashi flashed, stepped behind the Genin, immobilizing him into a grip. A Naruto clone tried to sneak a punch, but was kicked in the face before he could do anything. Shuriken Gakebusin no Jutsu. Sakura, who was still hidden in the trees, had been shocked. That's Naruto's jutsu? How was that even possible? From her perspective, she saw the redhead turn 5 shuriken into an army of metal death. The sheer amount of metal stars was enough to block out the sun. Meanwhile, Kakashi casually observed the incoming rain of death with indifference. Lifting Sasuke into the air, Kakashi used him as a body shield. With his only free hand left, Sasuke formed a one-handed ram sign, exploding into a flutter of leaves. Of course, Jinjutsu. Kakashi mostly likely only had 1 second until the shuriken came raining down upon him. With seasoned reflexes, he squatted down and started a jutsu sequence. Doton, Moburagakuren no Jutsu. The Jounin went underground at the last second, avoiding the mass of metal. Sasuke and Naruto regrouped with Sakura on a branch. We've about 9 seconds before he reemerges. Naruto exclaimed as his eyes were tracking their sensei underground. Sasuke nodded as he turned towards Sakura. When you see a chance, you will go into hiding. Once we catch Kakashi off guard, you will throw a kunai at the bells. Got it. Sakura gave an acute nod as she pulled out kunai from her pouch. Naruto nudged Sasuke as he threw a kunai at the ground. Understanding the message, the last Uchiha had leaped off from the branch. Sasuke spewed out an inferno on the marked spot. Gaton, Gaki no Jutsu. Suiton, Suida no Jutsu. Kakashi shot out of the ground, retaliating with a water bullet fueled by the nearby lake. Kakashi's water release easily trumped Sasuke's jutsu, extinguishing the fireball in an instant once they made contact. As a result, mist flooded the forest. Sakura took advantage of the ongoing chaos by jumping into the cloud of mist to hide her movement. Sasuke was utterly blind in this situation. His Sharingan couldn't see chakra due to the water vapor. The veteran Jounin practically vanished into his surroundings as he made a beeline dash to Sasuke. The last Uchiha tensed his body, ready for the inevitable taijutsu match from a senior. Saving his teammate from a losing beatdown, Naruto leaped vertically into the air, throwing explosive kunai in front of Sasuke, detonating the tags. The tags were specially augmented by the Uzumaki. The Genin managed to amp their explosive power to the max, approximately 25% more. In conjunction, the blonde used his chains to yank Sasuke out of the blast radius. Asterisk boom asterisk. The 5 explosion seals transformed the terrain into rubble. As the smoke cleared, it revealed a tall rock wall falling apart. A kneeling Hitaki using the slab of rock for cover. Shortly after, 3 kunai were flung to his feet, forcing him to jump backwards. Only at the last second had he sensed an incoming projectile from behind him. Twisting his body in mid-air, the kunai narrowly missed him. Instead, the knife managed to cut the bells loose from his hips. Turning around, the Scarecrow Man found Sakura halfway, submerged in the lake, arms outstretched as a cocky smirk adorned her face. Not only was she hidden in the lake, Sasuke must have also casted a Genjutsu over her to hide her presence. Impressive. Kakashi stood calm as he witnessed Naruto retrieve the bells from off the ground. The Jinchuriki gingerly passed one to Sasuke and a drenched Sakura who climbed out the lake. "Well, sensei, do we pass?" Sakura questioned with wide eyes as she proudly showed Kakashi her bell. "Congratulations, my cute little Genin. As of today, you're now full-fledged ninja. Now, if you excuse me, I have urgent matters to attend to. Meet here at 8 in the morning tomorrow. Yone." With all said and done, Kakashi fled the training field in a swirl of leaves. "I guess I'll celebrate with him at home." Naruto turned his attention to his 2 now official teammates. His sweat dropped as he saw Sakura haggling Sasuke for a date. The latter wasn't even paying attention to her. "Sakura, that's a good idea. We should get something to eat. I know I'm starving." Sakura turned her attention to the redhead, conflicted on her opinions about him. Before they graduated, Naruto was just a loudmouth deadlast who couldn't even complete simple jutsu. But now the redhead was calm, level-headed, and abusing Kenjutsu left and right. One thing she was still certain of is that her Sasuke-kun was still better than him. Right? "I don't want to go on a date with you, Baka." Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion as he ignored Sakura's insult. "No, I meant we should eat out as a team. Come on, Sasuke. I heard Tucci has a new tomato soup dish." Naruto brushed past Sakura as he slung his arm over the Uchiha, persuading him as the duo walked back towards Konoha. Sakura looked at the pair in awe. It seemed as if the two were best friends. They never interacted like that in the academy. "What's going on?" Taking a pause, Naruto looked over his shoulder. "Sakura, are you coming?" Naruto gave her a warm smile as Sasuke still barely acknowledged her. With a stutter in her step, Sakura quickly joined the group. Finally, Team 7 made their way to Ichiraku Ramen. 000. Gaara Hitaki was making his way to the Hokage office. The Jinchuriki was curious about his fate, as he was the only graduate in his class that was instructed to go to the office. What awaited Gaara was Hiruzen sagely smoking out of his pipe as he completed paperwork. A plethora of items littered his desk. The old man took notice of Gaara and greeted him with his usual grandfatherly smile. "Gaara-kun, it has been a while. First, let me congratulate you on your graduation." Gaara took a knee as he graciously accepted Hiruzen's praise. "Thank you, Hokage-sama." Hiruzen took a drag from his pipe one last time before he got down to business. "Now I'm sure you're curious as to why I summoned you. You see, with the addition of you, there was an uneven amount of graduates this year. Instead of forcing you into a 4-man cell, I present you another option. Remember, this is only possible due to your condition. I have control over Shikaku now, Hokage-sama. I can handle teammates." Hiruzen waved Gaara off in a friendly manner, dismissing the Genin's worries. Leaning forward, he looked Gaara in the eye. "Do you want to be hidden in the shadows or become a true Genin?" Finally taking notice of the items on the table, Gaara saw a Tanuki Umbu mask and a leaf headband laying side by side on the desk. "What will happen if I stay a Genin?" "I'll probably sign you into a mentorship, but Gaara-kun, your skills are unique on their own. You have the potential to survive in the Umbu." Gaara slowly approached the desk and took the Tanuki Umbu mask. The Jinchuriki placed it upon his face as he took a knee in front of the Hokage. "Rise, Operative Tanuki. I have a debut mission for you right now. It seems that Chunin Mizuki has become a traitor. Hunt him down and retrieve the Scroll of Seals." Gaara nodded with another word, the newly promoted Umbu officer vanished from the office. Shortly after, Hiruzen's door flew open as Danzo entered the office. The sound of cane echoed throughout the room as he humbly sat down. So which path has the Ichibi decided upon, Hiruzen? It seems he has chosen the path of shadows. I can only hope I won't regret this decision later. You're getting too soft, Hiruzen. This option was the most viable. Not only will the Umbu keep his identity hidden for longer, but his status as Jinchuriki will let him soar through the ranks. Hiruzen couldn't argue with the facts that Danzo provided. The old man could only watch as Gar's story was unveiled. But had I made the right choice? 000. Sakura had been lagging behind her two teammates as she followed them through the streets of Konoha. The girl's mind was currently a mess because of the current situation she was in. On one hand, she finally got the chance to eat with Sasuke. But Naruto's presence had become an enigma and nuisance in one for Sakura. Her opinions on the blonde hadn't changed yet, but Haruno definitely noticed in his demeanor, attitude, and even vocabulary had turned 180. Sasuke shoved Naruto away with little strength. The blonde was laughing hysterically, but if Sakura wasn't so observant, she would have missed Sasuke's subtle smile. Since when has Sasuke and Naruto been this close? For the life of her, Sakura could not remember the two interacting with each other in such a friendly manner back at the academy. Finally, Team 7 arrived at Ichiraku's. The aroma of ramen broth had assaulted her nose before she even had a chance to enter. It was the first time that Sakura had ever visited this establishment, and if the rumors are true about Naruto's ramen addiction, then this certainly won't be the last. A teenage girl with brown long hair, holding a notepad, came to greet us. Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun, it seems you two brought a new friend this time. Her joyous tone had been quite infectious, causing Naruto to greet her with his own smile. Sasuke-kun, who even is this hussy? No matter, no way could a ramen girl could even stand a chance with Sasuke-kun. A dark cloud started to form over Sakura as she stared daggers at Ayam. You bet Ayam-chan. You're now looking at an official ninja. Naruto smiled brightly as the bowl was served right in front of him. Itadakamasu, Naruto yelled before he dug into his bowl. Tomato soup was shortly passed to Sasuke right after. What would you like, sis? The brown-haired girl asked her with such a bright smile. Sakura then felt bad about her previous judgment. Shrimp ramen, please. Sakura ordered with her own smile. So, Sakura, do you mind if we help you become a better kunoichi? Me and Sasuke could really use a strong third teammate, you know. Naruto nudged Sasuke as he finished talking. The Uchiha hunk then turned his attention to me. Yeah, I might actually like you more if you become useful. Hearts bursted out of my eyes. Of course I'll let you help me, Sasuke-kun. Great, then me and team over here. Will you pick you at 8 in the morning? You better be prepared because we don't train lightly. Sakura practically ignored the redhead's warning. The trio then continued to share a meal together before they bid each other goodbye. Well, until Sakura bid Naruto and Sasuke goodbye. Naruto returning her gesture and Sasuke once again flat out ignoring her. 000. The scroll of forbidden seals. You'd think that a scroll with so many kenjutsu would be so heavily guarded. Mizuki surged more chakra to the bottom of his feet as he raced through the forestry of Konoha, as if his life depended on it. Which it did. A nasty grin spread across his face as his grip on the scroll tightened. And once I hand this over to Orochimaru-sama, I'll be granted power far beyond my imagination. Shuriken whizzed past by my head as I halted in my tracks. There, standing adjacent on the branch, behind me, was Iriki Yumino, my old friend. Mizuki, what are you doing? You know this is treason to the highest of order. Is he seriously trying to lecture me? Damn, I was hoping to leave with no dead bodies, but plans never go perfectly. Fastening the forbidden scroll on my back, I crouched down, unsheathing my katana. Irika, you know you can't defeat me. It's a real shame now that I have to kill you. Pumping chakra through my legs, I dashed quickly to impale Irika in the chest. Instead of my blade searing through flesh and bone, it met grains of sand? Impossible. Irika doesn't have a Doton affinity. Then a giant wall of sand flanked me to my loo. It went dark after that. 000. Hiruzen Saratobi was impressed. Gaara, on his first A-rank mission, has managed to complete it under 30 minutes. There laying before him was an unconscious Mizuki. The traitor had a nasty bruise forming on his chin. Hiruzen then turned his attention back into Irika's oral report. And then before Mizuki impaled me with his sword, Agent Tanuki-san managed to distract the traitor with a wall of sand on his left side, before sneaking into his blind spot on his right, socking him in the chin. You went for the chin? Kakashi, who was also summoned by Hiruzen, added into the conversation. He then proceeded to feel around Mizuki's jaw. His jaw is still intact, but there's a lot of swelling. Perfect, just like how I taught you. Kakashi gave Gaara an eye smile as he took Mizuki to Anko. Irika was standing tall off to the side. The Chunin kept stealing glances at the rather short Umbu officer. Of course, Gaara noticed, but had not confronted him about it. Thank you for saving my life, Umbu-san. No problem, Irika-sensei. Irika raised an eyebrow at the use of the suffix. Neko. Herzuin called for a soldier, and not a second later, a female Umbu operative with a cat-like mask and long purple hair appeared next to Hiruzen. Hi, Hoka-sama. Nico saluted before standing straight. Escort Operative Tanuki to headquarters. From now on, he is now a member of your team. So please take him under your wing and teach him the basics. With a nod, Nico approached Gaara and placed a hand on his shoulder. Silently, the duo left in a leaf shushin. That Umbu operative is rather short. Don't you think, Hokage-sama? The Hokage chuckled at Irika's curiosity. Yes, he is Yumino-san, but I have no doubt that won't affect his job. Now that both of them were alone, the Chunin had started asking many questions. Most of the answers he was seeking were confidential information. Hiruzen had no choice but to send the Chunin home. Taking one last drag from his tobacco pipe, the old man looked over his view of his village. The seeds of the next generation have been planted. Only time will reveal how successful they'll grow. Naruto, regular speech. Change, in. Someone or something, different, alter or modify. Something with something else, especially something of the same kind that is newer or better. Substitute one thing for another. Mabuki Haruno flinched as she accidentally touched the steaming hot pot of rice by accident. The housewife had been happily preparing dinner for her family until her daughter had busted through the door. Her 12-year-old soldier could barely contain her excitement as she struggled to undo her sandal latches. Kazashi Haruno looked up from his paper intrigued. How was your first day on the job, my little ninja? Kazashi greeted his daughter in a playful tone as he set his paper down on the kitchen table. Tusan, it was amazing. The pinkette put a pause on her actions as suddenly took a whiff of the air. It smells delicious in here. Mom, is dinner ready? Sakura finally kicked off her sandals before she took a seat at the dinner table. Well, actually, you made it just on time, dear. Mabuki had set down a bowl of rice with curry gravy slathered across. The Haruno family listened to Sakura's regale about her day for the rest of the night. I better go to sleep early. Good night, guys. The Kunoichi then bolted upstairs and went straight into her room. Mabuki and Kazashi looked at the bowl of rice that was barely touched in silence. The girl was in ecstasy. Throwing herself into her bed, the Kunoichi rolled around in her sheets. Sasuke-kun said, "He likes me." That moment had absolutely been the highlight of her day, even more than when she graduated. A knock from her window patio snapped her out of her musings. There sensei was standing on her balcony, waiting to be let in. Sliding open the veranda, she went to greet the jounin. Hey, Kakashi's dashed. Before she could even react, the pinkette was grabbed and flung to the rooftop of her house. Why did you do that? Sakura cried out frustratingly. Her instructor chuckled as he held up his pointer finger to the sky. Ninja Rule 3. A shinobi must prepare before it is too late to. Sakura sorely wished her teacher could have taught her this lesson a more gentler way. I had scheduled a conversation with you earlier today, did I not? Sakura gave out an exasperated sigh, then gave a defeated nod. Yes, I do remember you saying that. So what is it that you want to talk about, sensei? Sakura asked, closing his infamous orange Aika book. The grown man's nature had completely. Now that his attention fully on her is unnerved the genin greatly. I've noticed that you put your body through unnecessary diets, and on top of that, forego conditioning your muscles on your own time. Sakura, if you keep up with these unhealthy habits, you'll be destined to meet your demise sooner than your peers in your shinobi career. To be frankly honest, I don't even see you surviving a C-rank mission. Death waits for nobody, and it is not picky. Heed my warning, Genin, for if not, warnings will simply turn into predictions. A look of disbelief overcame Sakura. She had not expected such brutal from her sensei. Sakura held her head down to hide the shame in her. She remembered Naruto's and Sasuke's promise to help her progress, reassured by how positive they had been about how she could become stronger. I may be the weakest link for now, sensei, but I have what it takes. The girl definitely stood her ground. She refused to be so blatantly underestimated. I can take on anything you throw at me, sensei. Kakashi's expression remained blank. His gaze barely affected the genin now. Kakashi retrieved his porn, and because of that the oppressing setting vanished too. Well, I'll make sure to put your determination to the test tomorrow, Haruno. You should go get some rest now. You'll need it. With nothing more to say, Kakashi bid his student farewell by delivering a two-finger salute. In a swirl of leaves, the man vanished. Sakura, now abandoned on the rooftop, slightly started to panic. She desperately searched for a way to get down back to her veranda. Fortunately for her, she managed. 000. The next day, blade collided against sand repeatedly as Yugao had been skillfully parrying bombardments of tendrils of sand, courtesy from Gaara. Currently, the Umbu captain was in a heated sparring session with the young Jinchuriki. Yugao had been tasked to test his skills, a tradition every captain must partake in for every new recruitment. What she hadn't expected was for a 12-year-old to keep her on her toes. While the veteran admits that she was quite miffed after being informed that a genin was chosen to be a part of her elite group, all feelings of envy were quickly squashed as she somehow found herself fighting for her life. Creating two shadow clones, Yugao back-pedaled away from the rookie. The two clones then circled around Gaara in tandem with incredible speeds, managing to outright flank him, while the real Yugao leaped into the sky to perform an aerial attack. Kunarega, Mikazuki no Mai. Gaara chose to surround himself with a barrier of sand, successfully protecting himself. Yugao tried to retrieve her katana that was now embedded into sand. She struggled, but to her avail she failed. The minerals then started to enfold the blade at an alarmingly fast rate. Trying to retreat, the woman then noticed her ankles were ensnared by sand. Would you like to forfeit now, senpai? Gaara asked sincerely as he opened a small hole in his barrier sphere, unknowingly taunting his purple-haired captain. Yeah, I guess that's enough for now. Yugao released a depressing sigh as she fell with the sand. Gaara then turned his attention to the rest of his squad that was spectating. Would anybody else like to evaluate my skills? Gaara questioned the peanut gallery that consisted of his fellow squad members. A sweat drop rolled down every Umbu member's forehead as they collectively responded by shaking their heads with vigor. The platoon quickly learned to gain a mutual respect for Gaara after witnessing the rookie solo their squad captain for 10 minutes straight. Senpai, Hokage-sama has issued us an A-rank mission. Hawk appears next to Yugao to deliver the message via Leaf Shushin. Hawk was a seasoned Umbu soldier who specialized in wind ninjutsu and covert missions, a rare affinity for a resident of the Landfire. His light brown hair was slicked back, and he only wore his armor plate as a top. Yugao then turned her attention to her fellow operatives, purple hair strands perfectly framing her face as sweat was cascading down her temples. All right, squad, you guys know the drill. 2 minutes to prepare and report to the Hokage. Yugao barked out orders as she wiped her forehead with her shirt. Not long after we then find Yugao's platoon kneeling before the Hokage. The old man was shifting through a stack of papers, puffing away at his own leisurely pace. I assume that you have adjusted by now, Operative Tanuki? Yes, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen exhaled his smoke and gave a sage nod as he examined scroll. I'm assigning you 4 on an A-rank mission. Your task is to locate and eliminate Aichi Yakuza, a wealthy business owner whose family pioneered the invention of chakra paper. I expect you to complete this mission without failure. The payload from his client will be a huge asset for the village. Hiruzen was met with silence as he kept an authoritative glance upon his soldiers. You are all dismissed. Hi, Hoket-sama. The squad had then set out to leave at once. Already Haven packed essentials that could last them for weeks outside the village. 000. The Haruno residence basked in the golden sunlight, painting the building in a soothing yellow, oozing off a heavenly aura. This is what Naruto and Sasuke were greeted with as they arrived to pick up Sakura. Which one do you reckon is her window? Sasuke boredly asked as he rolled his eyes at the scenery. Naruto looked for the chakra signature that felt most familiar. That one. The redhead pointed to the window and balcony on the topmost left side of the building. Hopping towards the opening, Naruto knocked on the glass very loud, hoping to awake his teammate. Sakura answered the window, already dressed in her signature pink kippo dress. Good morning, Sakura-chan. Have you already eaten breakfast? Sakura completely ignored Naruto as she tried to give Sasuke a hug. Good morning, Sasuke-kun. The Uchiha took a side step to the left, avoiding her affection. The Uchiha replied with a quiet "Ichin," not even bothering to make eye contact. It's good to see you in such an eager mood in the morning. Mind starting off the day with a run? Naruto started to stretch out his arms as he talked. You want me to run all the way to training ground 7? Sakura asked incredulously. She had a hard time believing that her teammate was serious. Naruto responded with a resounding yup, accompanied by a playful peace sign gesture. Training ground 7 is at least 2 miles away from here. The only female member of Team 7 threw her arms into the air to exaggerate the ridiculousness Naruto was implying. You better get to stretching then. Morning cramps are the worst, Naruto exclaimed as he bent over to touch both of his toes. Sasuke was seen completing his own set of stretches also. Not long after, Uzumaki and Uchiha jumped off her porch as they both started off with a full brown sprint down the street. Sakura lagged behind, clearly not as fast as the former two. Mabuki and Kizashi sat behind their living room watching the trio race into the distance. Her focus was mainly on Naruto, as the redhead struck a certain nerve of nostalgia. He inherited Kushina's ridiculous hair color and face. What are the chances that our children were placed on the same team? Mabuki took a sip of her coffee. Sakura's father lazily turned another page in the newspaper he was reading. The man was enjoying his morning. He had no time to indulge his wife's commentary. 000. We are heading straight to Tonica Village. Since it's at the edge of the border, we must travel full speed, Yugao instructed as she guided her squad through the forest. Currently, the platoon had formed a diamond formation, with Yugao leading, Hawk flanking the left, Gaara taking up rear for defense, and finally Kino, the final member of the squad, protecting right. Gaara had little to no difficulty keeping up with adults thanks to Kakashi's vicious condition training. But boy did he sweat under the heavy gear. To think Kakashi moved around in this gear for all of his teenage years. Snapping out of his musing, Gaara took notice of the forest he so casually glided through. Counting this mission, this would officially be the second time Gaara explored the wilderness. The young Jinchuriki must admit that the forest infested with adamantine trees had somehow been comforting for him. These very same trees that were standing tall and basking in all of its glory were created by the Shodai. An impressive feat in Gaara's opinion. Minutes turned into hours as the platoon glided through branches, each limb shivering from every leap. Eventually, Yugao called for a break so they could settle. Team Yugao now found themselves gathered around a small campfire Kino created. "All right, troop, we shall reach our destination in about 2 hours." She retrieved a beige scroll from her back pocket, unraveling it and pointing at a portrait. "This is our client, Sendu Yakuza." A skinny young man with shaggy brown hair was wearing a very expensive-looking white smiled confidently in the picture. His neck and ears were littered with golden chains and diamond earrings. Very wealthy, narrowed his eyes at the mention of the last name. "Is the client the target's son?" "Yes, the client is the target's son. Will that be a problem for you, Agent Tanuki?" Yugao replied as she sent him a curious glance. Not that anybody could tell under her mask. Instantly, Gaara felt that completing this mission would be a hard pill to swallow. Memories of Yashimaru's botched mission started to haunt him. Suppressing a shiver, Gaara tried his best to act professional. "No, that won't be a problem at all. May I suggest that I complete this mission solo?" Yugao shared a look with Kino and Hawk. A silent message was obviously shared between the three. "Sure, I don't see why not. But you must rendezvous with the client first before anything drastic occurs on the mission." Yugao poked the flames with a stick, tossing the embers around. The light from the flames illuminating her Nico mask. "Wait for the perfect opportunity to eliminate Aichi. No matter what, we cannot let his murder be traced back to Konoha, understood?" Gaara responded with a monotony high, not breaking eye contact. Yugao stood up, Kino and Hawk mimicking her action. "All right, let's get this show on the road." The platoon had set out for Tonica Village, right after Gaara used his sand to suffocate the flames. The diamond formation was formed once again as the group set off into the trees. 000. Sakura had a headache pounding against her temples like drums in a marching band. The poor girl could barely lift her limbs as she sat in the shade of a tree. Currently, she was observing Sasuke decimate a whole army of Naruto clones with only taijutsu, an exercise created by the redhead himself. Normally, she would be gushing at the spectacle before her, but Kakashi had basically ran her to the ground today, removing any sort of energy she could muster. After she had finished her job with her teammates, the man had come down and instantly beaten her into a pulp, a harsh activity that the Scarecrow Man insisted would get her used to pain. It took longer for Sasuke and Naruto to fall by a vast margin, but they collapsed eventually. Yes, the first day of training had been gruesome so far, but she would endure. She had to endure, or else her teammates will leave her in the dust. "Hey Sakura, how are you holding up?" Naruto asked as he approached her, his large grin never leaving his face. One thing Sakura noticed about her redhead teammate was that he seemed to never get exhausted, a trait so valuable that it actually boggled her to no end on how she missed it when they went to the academy. The boy's stamina was absurd. He simply had no limit. "I'll survive," drawled the Pinkette with a tired smile. Naruto joined her under the shade as Sasuke approached them also. Cuts littered his knuckles as bruises decorated his arms. Quite alarming in her opinion, but the Uchiha moved as if it didn't affect him. "I'm impressed that you didn't give up yet, to be honest." Sasuke added his 2 cents, which was really surprising as the boy had not shared more than 3 sentences with her today so far. Sakura had no strength to gush over him as of now, so she simply responded with a smile. "Of course, I can't fall behind you guys. A team is only as strong as its weakest link after all." Sasuke nodded as he nonchalantly leaned against the tree. "And if I ever want to surpass Ino, I have to endure." Sasuke's eyebrow twitched at the mention of the Gossip Queen's name. Whenever the Yamanaka wandered into Naruto's and his training space, she would insist that he was her best friend. Yes, he was glad that she wasn't a fangirl of his, but damn, did the blonde come with annoyances. She would constantly tease him about his healthy favoritism towards tomatoes. Can a man not have a favorite food? But Sasuke would never give in her bait. He knew better. For once he let a Yamanaka get into his mind, he knew that's when she would win. No way in hell would his Uchiha pride let that happen. "You and Ino-chan are friends, Sakura? How come I didn't know that?" Naruto asked with a mixture of curiosity and surprise laced in his voice. Suddenly, the Pinkette found her sandals very interesting as she avoided eye contact with her teammates. Ino and I used to be very close friends at the beginning of the academy. She used to vehemently stand up against bullies that would mock my forehead. Honestly, she was the closest friend I had at the time, and deep down I think I was hers too. But ever since she met Tsunade, that one day, she became extremely different. She started to only talk about her future as Medicnine. Eventually, we grew apart. Her tunnel vision became increasingly hard for me. It didn't take long for her to become top kunoichi in every subject. She would still talk to me in class and be friendly, but she stopped hanging out with me after school. And now that we're fully fledged ninja, I don't think we'll ever have time to reconnect. Naruto slowly nodded his head as he listened. Sasuke had his eyes closed the whole time, but his teammates knew he was listening. His guard was never down after all. Sakura then raised her fist in the air, energy returning in her voice, and the will of fire burned brightly in her eyes. But now that I graduated, I have the chance to be on her level. Better even. Sakura then locked eyes with Naruto, particularly the nasty scar on his left eye. Hey Naruto, if you don't mind me asking, how did you exactly get that scar of yours? Naruto looked at the sky, tracing his fingers along the damaged skin. When I was 9, I was beaten on my birthday. One of the villagers tried to gouge out my eye with a kunai. Sakura hadn't said a thing, expecting his response to be a silly mistake, not a survival story. This was the time where Kakashi had decided to step in. You are 100% correct, Sakura. After I'm done training you, you should be a competent Chunin. Now that I notice you finally have enough energy to move around, let's start on your chakra control. Sakura raised an eyebrow at Kakashi's words. I already unlocked my chakra sensei. Sakura said. Is that right? What would you mind climbing that tree behind you? Sakura gasped. The concept of scaling walls with just chakra had never occurred to her that it was possible. Naruto, would you please show her an example? The Jinchuriki gingerly hopped up and then casually walked up the tree that they were relaxing under. The light blue flowing chakra covering his soles. All you have to do is send chakra to the bottom of your feet, and the rest will work itself out. Naruto said with a grin as he backflipped off the tree. With an understanding nod, the sole kunoichi of Team 7 rose to her feet to tackle the task. The results were quite mundane. She managed to get on the first try. Took me 6 hours to complete it, and she just got on the first try. Jealousy laced his voice as Naruto crossed his arms. Sasuke just stood there aloof, observing with his Sharingan. She must not have that much chakra in the first place. That could explain why she isn't struggling. Sasuke then added, unintentionally clearing any confusion on Naruto's end. Of course. 000. Team Yugao finally arrived at Tonica Village. Said civilization was located on the edge of Fire Country. Buildings grouped together infested the plain field, but the Umbu squad wasn't here for the village. No, they were here for the colossal mansion that was pooled by plantains. Twisted trees with brown leaves neighboring the building harmoniously. All right, Tanuki, head to the plantation. Kino, Hawk, and I will be camping here, ready in case things go south. Use your sand as a tower for the signal. Got it. Gaara nodded as he created a sand clone that performed henge, disguising itself as Gaara in his normal genin attire. You have 24 hours to complete this Assisi Nation. Any second later, and we're coming after you, understood? Kino said as he leaned against a tree. Gaara nodded as he set off. The silver-haired teen made his way to the mansion. The texture of the twisted trees were quite different from the adamantium trees he's been used to traveling on. The bark felt softer, almost as if it was withering, but the branches withstood his weight, quite odd. In the distance on a beaten gravel path, he saw a horse carrying a young man with brown hair and quite some jewelry on him. Getting a better look, Gaara noticed that it was Sendu riding the stallion with men in samurai armor trailing him. Sendu Yakuza? Gaara assumed as he landed in front of the young man, presenting his mission scroll that was signed by Hiruzen himself. The Hokage stamp written on the bottom left corner of the page. You must be one of the Konoha shinobi I requested for. I'm sorry, but I was led to believe that there would be more than one of you. The diamond earrings reflecting light into the genin eyes as Senda talked. My squad is on standby. This mission shouldn't be too difficult to complete. Senda studied the silver-haired teen as if he was an item on sale, judging his worth by his stance alone. Men, lower your weapons. This ninja will is an honorary guest of ours today. Tension in the air around the hired guard that were lined up behind him dropped considerably. Each soldier removed his hand from my hilt. Senda then turned his attention back to Gaara, his thumb placed upon his chin as a smirk dawned upon his face. You know, my family rarely gets visitors on the ranch. This mission may be my only opportunity to practice my host skills for a long time. What do you say, want a tour? Gaara could only accept the offer. It wouldn't be sensible to decline the client. Excellent, let's start by showcasing the lumberjacks. Sendu took the lead as he continued to follow on the beaten path. He eventually came to a stop at many underdressed men hacking away at the twisted trees with axes that were in terrible condition. As a ninja, Gaara could tell the blade on each and every tool had been withered to barely usable. But each slave hacked away relentlessly. It was either that or get punished by the hired guards supervising them. One malnourished old man eventually collapsed. He did not get back up. These trees are quite special, you see. They're the only species of tree that can produce chakra paper. They also grow faster than any tree in the world, only needing a week to mature. Gaara could tell the boy had a passion for the conifer by the way he was immersed in explanation. It was like Sendu was in his own little word, describing fun facts about the tree. After a moment of watching his slaves work, Sendu continued on the path once again, itching closer to the mansion in every trot. After we chop the wood, we skin it and turn the bark into chips. After we turn them into chips, my workers will then batter the wood with water to turn it into a paste. Sendu halted his steed as he turned his attention to a group of slaves that were working diligently. Some are tirelessly punching bowls filled with water and wooden until their knuckles bled. Some are lucky enough to have a giant club. You humans amuse me to no end, exploiting members of your own race so ruthlessly just to create paper. You animals breed for violence. Shikaku's raspy voice echoed throughout the Jinchuriki's mind. Turning to his left, he said, giant men, most littered with scars or some type of wound, chucking the paste into burlap sacks. The product was then transported to the basement of the mansion. Smoke could be seen spewing from open windows and chimneys. The young merchant led Gaara to a small elevator contraption on the side of the mansion. On his way there, the Umbu operative caught a glimpse of the inside of the basement. Men covered in dust and soot walked about smelling rancid. Majority of the slaves were coughing vehemently due to the fumes the machinery let off. The paste was placed into machinery that turned it into soggy parchment, which would then be put into bundles. Women and men alike were carrying bundles to their own elevator contraption. Gaara then rose to the top of the estate. What greeted him was a glass building. The air inside the clear dome had made the windows reflecting mirages. Opening the door, Gaara was blasted with a heat wave that reminded him of Sunagakure. The silver-haired ninja was disturbed at the sight before him. All of the workers were naked. Then again, their choice to forego clothing seemed reasonable for this heat.